threat, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there was 50 or 60 of them out there, even with him hurt, I didn't believe that they couldn't just kind of push past him. Maybe not fight them all.
But that's kind of the typical slow zombie problem, right? It's like you can get away. It was, night was falling, right?
Well, Romero zombies. Well, I understand why they didn't go then, maybe.
Yeah.
But Romero zombies would swarm you. They would do a good job through directing of showing that they will swarm you.
Yeah.
But he was literally at one time caught a zombie, bound a zombie, brought it across the yard, brought it into the house.
Right.
Was having an argument while fighting two zombies. I can see where more would be a threat, but they didn't do anything to make it seem like... I didn't believe for 1 minute that they couldn't push back through these zombies. And they showed enough to not make it look like there was any more than there was there. And I thought maybe it was just a trick of how they showed it. But then when they went back and showed it again at the unnecessary post... inter-credit stuff.
Yep.
It showed exactly that there was only 20 of them there, maybe.
Something like that, yeah.
And, I'm again, don't fight them, but, you could have got by. And lastly, if that movie ended right with "See you soon," I would have really liked it. But the one time they went back and showed more was at the credits, and that's the one time they didn't need to. And that's my piece.
Let me just pipe in real quick here. So, while we're still not live, what I did was I'm recording to YouTube right now. So I'm hoping that... What are you doing?
Sorry.
Stroking that mic again?
No. I was really interested.
The mic was almost there, too. Mike, don't interrupt him next time.
So I'm recording to Google in hopes that we can actually put this up later. I've never tried this, so I just went with the record to Google option. So it's not streaming or broadcasting live, and I don't know why you'd want to go back and watch our ugly mugs if it's not live, but at the very least I'm doing that. So the camera is on, so Raven Shadow, if you want to point at the camera or something,
I do.
It makes sense now.
Fuck you, Google. Fuck you in your ear. All right?
You do realize that we're broadcasting them directly and we're hoping that they fix their problem?
Why don't you fix this? But if you don't, it's too fucking late. Fuck you, Google. Fuck your aunt.
All right, who wants to go next?
How's your aunt?
Good.
MZ, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right, lay it on us.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of really nice scenes in this film. It was like Dynamo said, it was shot really nice. I don't know if it was DV video or Super 8 or whatever. Not Super 8, but I don't know. Some kind of high def camera was used, and it was shot really nice. I really liked the look of the entire film. As far as the performances go, I thought the performances were really, really great. The natural dialogue between the two main characters felt really nice and at ease and everything
Organic.
like that. And just really solid performances by the leads. Like I said, it was natural dialogue, but at times it was quite quirky as well. I felt that whenever anybody else was shown on camera, not so much the zombies, well, I guess so, maybe the zombies as well, but any people that they might have confronted on their journey kind of lowered the film down a little bit as far as quality of acting ability goes, because I thought the two leads were really, really up there. It was slow paced. It was, but like I said, the quirky dialogue, the snappy dialogue, kept it pretty interesting. So I was never really full on board. I never seen a zombie with erect nipples before.
There you go.
That was pretty hot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I never saw a zombie with a set.
In real life, they always are.
Maybe so, man. But I mean, I'll be honest, I've never seen it, man. But now I have, and I feel pretty good about it. There were some scenes that didn't need to be there. It had absolutely nothing to do with the film at all. The scene where what's the guy's name? Ben. He was dancing. Like that whole scene could have been taken out. Yeah, Bryan Danielson. He could have been dancing, man, and that whole scene could have been taken out. A lot of scenes could have been taken out, and this hour and 41-minute film could have easily been shortened down to maybe an hour 15, hour 20 at the most. great soundtrack. I really got a kick out of the soundtrack. You know, it was, I just loved it. Guy jerking off in the car to the zombie, man. Who hasn't done that, right?
Let me translate from Monster Zero. And there was a part where, you know, zombie apocalypse, you're hanging out with a dude, and all of a sudden, a really hot zombie's attacking your car.
Yeah.
The doors are locked. The air conditioning's on. You can't get in.
Yeah.
Why don't you just vibe? And there was some movement down at the Raven Shadow Ponderosa.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it.
There's
Yeah.
some movement.
There was some movement.
Did you watch this with Wife and Shadow?
She was getting ready to go to bed. I'm like, honey, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm just going to finish this off. I mean, finish the movie. Go to bed. Good night. Love you. Kisses.
How long do you think in reality, I know Raven Shadow and probably Monster Zero are going to front, but they'd be the first with their head in somebody else's lap. How long do you think you're on the road with a dude in the zombie apocalypse before somebody blows somebody?
So do you want to be the catcher?
No, that's not my style.
You guys gonna make a battery?
You know, that's not cool, man.
No, it's a logical question. Like, it's the zombie apocalypse. You might never see a woman again.
I got memories.
No way, man. Yeah.
Bullshit. Both of you bullshit.
Memories.
No, I don't
why?
need that.
Yeah, okay.
Would
so
you? Would you?
There
Would
you
I let
go.
somebody? I would on like Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
During a zombie apocalypse,
Quite an indictment.
Huh?
During a zombie apocalypse, you would let a guy blow you.
I would let a guy
Hey,
blow
he sucked
me
my dick.
while the Deadites intro was going on. I like blowjobs plenty.
Would you give a blowjob?
Are you asking have I or would I at the zombie
No,
apocalypse?
I know you have. No, I'm not asking you if you have. We all know you have, but would you?
Would you?
During the zombie
Would-
apocalypse?
Would you?
Would you?
As if it needs a qualifier. During
Yeah.
a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
All right, listen.
Well,
It
yeah.
depends. It depends on what I needed.
Are they
what I-
fast zombies or shambling zombies?
Do I? do
I ain't blowing a fast zombie.
Do I love him?
Do you have to?
Well, we just
Before or after?
Is it Ryan Gosling?
yes.
Yes.
For the sake of matter, yes.
Sure.
Let's say yes.
But
Okay.
I go out in the green room and blow him right now.
No, it's Jeremy Gardner. It's Ben. It's
Ooh.
actually Ben.
Yeah.
In your Mickey.
Wait.
And his beard are tickling your balls.
Could I pretend he's Bryan Danielson?
Ooh.
Yeah,
No,
sure. Why not?
no.
Okay, no.
Let him.
Then I wouldn't.
I don't
not
know. The
part
last
of
time
it.
he was near Bryan Danielson, well, we all know what.
I think you're all fronted.
Good talk. No, I
I don't
No.
see it. I think
No.
it's either in your character or not.
Are you just
Yeah.
gonna like not have sex again then?
Yeah, that's conceivably possible.
Yeah, it's called
Right.
high school. The fuck?
I had a hard time. Like my special lady friend is sick right now, and I had a hard time getting through today without any sort of like sex. I couldn't go forever.
It's like, honey,
Without
you
it.
want some NyQuil?
I tried
Want some
that.
tissues?
I was like, these pills will make you not even know you had a cold.
Wait, is the internet down during the apocalypse?
Yeah.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, fuck. Playboys?
Yeah.
Well, how's she
still,
gonna breathe
still,
if her
that's
nose
what,
is stuffed?
That's what I'm saying. Still.
Yeah.
Playboys or whatever.
But you don't.
It's not the same.
What part of the movie was that again?
Any part. I just think the catcher pitcher role would have took a different turn
Yeah, that's a fucking
in real
movie.
life.
Yeah.
All right.
I know.
Okay.
Let me get back to this.
Who's next, Johnny?
Back to what?
Yeah, like I said, the soundtrack it blends really well with the tone of the film. I love the soundtrack. Like I said, the standoff scenes didn't sell too well for me because I felt that the other actors kind of lowered the main cast ability to act. I just didn't buy into it. And I also didn't buy into any real danger that the zombies were threatening against our two heroes. Not to mention the fact, I mean, the title of the film, The Battery, is also, it kind of throws you off because it has almost nothing to do with the fact that they're baseball players. I mean, I guess you could look at it in a way that's saying that they're two dudes, just trying to live through a zombie.
That's what it means, though.
Apocalypse. Okay, that's
We
what
looked that up last night. No.
Did you?
A battery is a pitcher and a catcher.
No,
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I know that.
So then the title is that.
But-
we didn't look it up. I know that shit.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't play into the plot of the film that these two are ball players.
It played into their characters, I think, though.
Yeah, I think that
I
was
don't
the
think
idea.
so.
You don't think? I think that the pitcher was fishing and very working class, like hardworking sort of guy, and
The
the
catcher.
pitcher was the catcher. Sorry, and the pitcher was kind of more pris and like spoiled and didn't work as hard. Which is maybe not true in real life, but definitely kind of a cliche.
Well, I mean,
those
they
two
even
roles on the ball.
they even got
maybe.
into it a little bit when he was like, "Oh, you know, I don't know any other guy that can walk across the whole country and get fatter while during an apocalypse and get fatter." And he was saying, you know, well, I'm a catcher, it's excusable for me and stuff like that. So I think they played those characters out pretty well. I thought so.
This movie is for a zombie film. It's extremely laid back and subdued, which is almost unheard of, and at times it can be boring because there are long shots of nature. There are long shots of just absolute nothingness. And when they do get to talk about shit, it's just matter-of-fact speech. You know, it's just you know, it has nothing to do with really the plot of the film. It just has to do with two dudes just trying to live their life. You know, so that I mean, on one hand it's good, and on the other hand it's not so good. The final scene in the car became insufferable. But at the same time, it does give you the sense of suffocation or the sense of claustrophobia because you're in that car with them for a good solid maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe
20.
And I didn't time it, but it's pretty close.
It's a long time.
Well,
It is.
just one, you know, like kind of spoiler territory a little bit, but
When Nick left the car.
let's say like at the end half of that, you know what I mean, when there was an attempt to get out of the car, let's say.
Yeah.
That scene alone was 8 minutes.
Sure.
And they were in there for at least double that before that scene. So that's a good, almost a half hour probably of this movie, 20-something minutes.
Yeah. I was trying to quantify how I felt about this scene Monster Zero was talking about, and I finally figured out like how I wanted to word it, and it's like hearing a really good song in a genre that you don't normally like. Like, it was really good, and you understood why it was really good, but it just kind of, that particular scene in this film just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
I just felt that it was very I thought it just lent itself to the film really, really well, and because of that claustrophobic feeling, it's almost kind of like Blair Witch Project or Open Water, where you're stuck in this situation and there's no way of getting out, you know. So and the fact that the camera stays in there with you, stays in that car, and no shots of outside, not even of zombies or anything like that. It just stays in there, man.
Because they couldn't afford it.
Probably. But I thought it was a really effective way to end the film. What I found out was a lot of this film was shot in Kent, Connecticut, and that's where you could Friday the 13th Part 2, Plague Town, and I Spit on Your Grave were all shot in Kent, Connecticut. So
it looked. I felt like a lot of the scenes looked like I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree, especially in the cabin. A lot of the cabin scenes.
Sure.
Isn't that where Ken Kniff is from?
I was just thinking that. Well, I was just like, we're on the same page, my friend.
And so anyway, I thought the final scene kind of put the exclamation point on this film. And although I will say, you know, I'm on the fence on this one. I really don't know where I'm going to go until I actually say it. So, all right. So that's my shizzle.
Ooh. All right, Raven Shadow, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I love. I'm a big fan of this premise, and I think that as we've talked about what can be done
By premise, you mean zombie apocalypse? You think they should do more stuff about that?
No one does anything with fucking zombies anymore.
You know, it'd be good
It
a
should be
show.
a fucking TV show.
Somebody should do a show.
But like,
They should.
it's what happens with
And
the
make a
weeks
comic
to
after it.
come. That's a good black and white. No, the fucking the battery, and not your friends from Metallica either.
What's that mean?
It's a song. Battery.
For record.
Kill 'Em All.
Please, I can't remember it at all.
It's very popular.
I love Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss.
Not
Not so much, I guess.
the chorus was battery. but louder and metal. But no, I like the idea of a pitcher and a catcher. And these guys kind of reminded me when I first went into this thinking like the Red Sox, but they kind of came across more like the Paw Sox.
I agree.
Like they were like mid-card
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I kind of wish the pitcher was more like Kenny Powers. I mean, once again, I'm from New England, but like he's kind of a pussy. And tell you something, Tim Wakefield, Jonathan Papelbon, those motherfuckers can hunt. You know what I'm saying? Like they could fight. They know how to bow and arrow.
Are they Massachusetts?
No, they're southern
born though.
dudes, I
Yeah,
think,
I think they're southern. They're
They're
imports. I don't think they're from here.
Yeah, no, they're local, but like I mean, Papelbon and Wake can
I mean,
hunt.
like if the pitcher was from New Hampshire or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So I
Definitely
kinda
not.
wish-
Definitely, Mass, Connecticut, and Rhode Island is not a lot of like hunting and stuff like that going on.
No, but I did like the fact that, and it's funny, like they traveled, and they're used to traveling low means. If you're not on a big bus or plane, like being a wrestler or in a band, you're used to living in your car.
Yeah.
You're used to, shitty, what do you call it when, amenities?
Yeah. Amenities.
Yeah, what?
Amenities.
That's one.
Those are the little green mints.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, like juxtaposition between like traveling from.
Yeah, that was
from-
really interesting. I didn't pick up on that, but that's really interesting.
Cool. And they getting used to that life. I like that they would like take breaks and they would play catch and they would hit shit.
Yeah. Yep.
That one thing that was real, that one thing that was they were used to, the routine. You could almost.
Although to be honest, they didn't look much like baseball players when they were doing that.
No, like I said, the catcher looked kind of like the cat from The Hangover.
Yeah. I just mean like the I don't know, the body language and stuff like that. It didn't read as a professional ball player, but whatever, they did their thing. It was suspension of disbelief was okay. So.
And I think their hats actually had peas on it.
Which was for Pittsfield, where they started out.
Okay, yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So I like that. It was fun. They did a lot with little. It definitely, I agree with Dynamo and MZ how certain things dragged on. There was a crazy scene when the pitcher was kind of a pussy and he wouldn't really do a kill. And I liked when the catcher threw the zombie in his bedroom.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking stupid.
It was
Well,
stupid. It was a dick.
It was kind of stupid, but I think that the idea was this guy knew that he had it in him.
And where it went from there, like how all of a sudden it was like,
Yeah.
it's like, I expected like the montage that went on after that
Yeah.
scene. I expected to get people. Let me tell you about my best friend.
Something, yeah.
Like I don't know. I just didn't buy it. Like I would have fucking. He did punch that guy, but that guy tried to kill him.
Yeah.
If that was me, I woke up like, if Raven Shadow threw a zombie in my bedroom, he would be the next one bashed.
What if it was that girl zombie trying to get in the car?
Ooh.
I would have bashed her with a bat, and then Raven Shadow.
Okay.
Okay.
What if we team up beforehand?
What if you were sleeping in the car and he didn't let her in the car? She was just trying to get in.
I would have jacked off to her boobs.
Okay, just checking in.
What?
Did you turn your fucking mic off again, you dick?
What's a DVDA?
Am I there?
Try
Hello.
it again, Jesus.
What if all four of us were there and we all did a DVDA on her?
What the
How's
fuck
that?
is it? Don't. Should we?
Don't
No.
fucking answer
Do we
that.
need to?
Jesus.
we got it. The people are waiting. What's a DVDA?
Double vaginal, double anal.
No, don't.
No shit. That can't be done.
See, you asked.
Who does that? Who's
You're-
famous for
You're
that?
the one who did. You were the one who asked the question.
Listen,
You can't do that. That's kind of cakey.
I think it's fucking amazing that you motherfuckers were like, oh yeah, I jack off over a dead like teenager, but you are like repulsed at the fact of banging a dude.
I'm not repulsed, but you know what? People.
Well, you
people,
did frame it as sister.
What?
Are we talking about Father's Day?
No, just
No.
Oh, okay.
Back to that. We have a lot of morality polls
Yeah.
on this
Yeah,
show.
you know,
definitely.
people really enjoyed lobster. I don't like seafood. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not begrudging.
Dynamo likes
But if
Lobster
it was
Johnson.
the only thing that you could eat, if it all you could eat was lobster,
But-
you wouldn't fucking get through it.
What if it was a zombie apocalypse and the only thing that you could make love to was a lobster?
I'll fuck a lobster.
How the hell would you
You
do
gonna put
that?
elastics on the claws?
Shit.
I didn't say fuck a lobster. I said make love to a lobster. It's a zombie apocalypse.
Oh, you gotta use tenderness and kindness.
It's the zombie
You know.
apocalypse. Class it up, sir.
Yeah.
Understand the lobster's feelings.
Sure. If you fuck too many lobsters, you'll probably get crabs, though.
Oh,
I think that's where crabs.
It was a long way to go with that joke.
Obvious, but very funny.
I think when you get lobsters pregnant, that's where crabs come from, right?
Lobster Johnson.
That's my point. Like, it's the zombie fucking apocalypse. One of those dudes is blowing one of those dudes.
Maybe anything goes at that point.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I think. Like, whatever, you know. Like, I mean, not what I think. I don't need the zombie apocalypse to get a blowjob,
But in that scenario, the pitcher would become the catcher. I think, by that dynamic.
That could be true.
Sure.
I mean, you saw the guy's junk while he was there in the waterfall.
What does that have to do with anything?
I have no idea.
The fact that he had a penis means that he would use it.
Yep. I watched.
If you had a penis, you'd use it.
I watched this with I watched this with Tiny Wife, and she wasn't paying attention. It turned around when that scene was on, and reacted like she got shot with a bullet.
Really?
She didn't like that at all. She was quite taken aback by it. Let's say.
Really?
Well, let's be honest. When was the last time she saw a penis?
He's got a point.
She saw
at least 2 years ago.
She saw a huge dick last time he came over.
I told her not to tell you. See, again, we go back to that. I can't defend myself.
Yes, exactly.
It's not
right.
fair.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't like equal ground in a fight.
No.
All right. Well, we actually have like 20 minutes left before the interview, so we need to speed things up. Tiny, why don't you go?
Yeah, so this movie was good. I thought it was really good. In fact, I'm positive that I liked it better than anybody around this table. I haven't heard Johnny's view on this yet, but I liked it a lot. There were some... Tiny Wife and I have an ongoing joke where once we walked into a video store and asked about a movie, I forget what it was, Maurice Parrows or something like that. And the video clerk was one of those like real kind of like geeky video sort of guys. This is back when videotapes were, VHS was popular. It's like, what about this movie? When you could like walk in and ask somebody about a movie and they could tell you about it. He's like, well, some people say that it's rather pensive, but I felt it went right for the jugular. So we base movies on whether it's pensive or goes for the jugular.
That's a new rating system.
That's how we rate movies when we're watching together.
So funny.
She thought that this
It's like
movie
the difference of me and Michael Ravenshadow at the prom.
Hey.
So about 20 minutes into this, she turned to me and said, "This movie's rather pensive, don't you think?" So, yeah, this is a very pensive movie at its heart. It's a road film, it's a buddy's road film, not a zombie apocalypse film. It's just a road film with that framework playing out around it, right? So, sort of judging it as a road movie, a travel movie. I thought it was excellent. I thought that the dialogue was really good. The banter was really good. I didn't think that the Mickey character, Adam Cronheim, kept up with the Ben character for like the first half of the movie. And then he seemed to kind of like catch his stride and started like acting up to that same level. But early on, I kind of felt like he was reading his script instead of talking to the guy, instead of talking to Ben. And then once it really got its legs, it seemed like he actually kind of came out of that shell and actually started kind of acting his butt off. It was probably right around that scene where he throws a zombie in the room. And then once he actually gets pissed and isn't just listening to headphones and stuff anymore, he starts acting pretty damn well, I thought. I thought all the acting in this movie was really great, especially for what they had to do, those long scenes, especially the one in the car. I thought Jeremy Gardner really kind of showed his acting chops by being able to hang in for a freaking 8-minute unmoving scene, you know what I mean? Like, granted, like, all of us, I think, agree that it just simply went on too long. Like, regardless of what the point was and the directorial, like, idea of letting that scene languish was, it was too much. But he did carry it.
Yeah.
Whether or not you enjoyed it or not is second to the fact that it never felt like he felt like it was going on too long.
Right.
He acted all the way through it.
It didn't do anything. The opening scene, I felt like it went on too long, but then had a punchline.
Which one now?
Like where the pitcher was sitting outside listening to his
Yeah, sure. Well, that was very short by comparison.
Right.
2 minutes or a minute and a half.
It was longer than that, I think. But I would say that whole
It probably
opening
felt
was like
long.
3 minutes.
It probably felt long because we're unused to that sort of languishing scene.
Yeah, it's like touching my lap.
But it was nothing like. But it was nothing like that end scene. I mean, I don't think anybody that I can recall has been ballsy enough to just put a camera in a car and let the scene just stew. You know what I mean? Just like simmer.
Do you think that maybe some of it was improv?
I think
Some
all
of
of
the
it
dialogue
was.
was improv.
Here's what I think happened, and I may be right, I may be wrong.
Was this a zombie mumblecore film?
Maybe. That's interesting. Yeah, it probably falls into that. If what was the ghost movie? The Innkeepers.
Yeah.
If that was a ghost mumblecore, then this.
Which I don't think it was. That was scripted.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. So here's what I think happened. I think his directorial piece was, you go out of this car and go to this place and then come back. Basically, like, don't go out and count to 100 or whatever. Go out and do something that you have to do and come back. I wonder if it wasn't supposed to go that long, and they just let it because that's how long it took to do whatever. But I don't feel like he was on a timer. Maybe he was, but I was pretty bold and pretty ballsy to say, like, okay, I want you to go out and just walk around for 8 minutes and then come back. But maybe that's how anybody else would do it. You know what I mean? But to me, it didn't quite feel like that. It felt like he wanted him to really get the point across that he had to go out, do something that was impossible the day before, and then find his way back, you know. But I don't know. I guess that for anybody that watches this movie, I'm just going to say that is going to be the make or break point for 90% of the viewers, where if they're not already sold or off the movie by that point, they will be because of that scene. You know, like there's no middle ground with it. But I thought the dialogue throughout the movie was very good. I thought Ben's dialogue sort of really overshadowed Mickey's stuff, you know, but I think that's kind of the idea, is that was just a more interesting person, just supposed to be a more interesting human being than the other guy. But it was well done. I thought some of the scenes were amazing. The masturbation scene in the car, and I won't give the punchline away, but the punchline of that scene was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Really, like, in my world will go down in history as like one of those amazing, memorable scenes.
Yeah.
You know?
The aftermath.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's this like weird, really like dingy sort of darkness and gloom hanging around the picture. Like, no matter how much he tries to cheer him up, he's like doing dances in the field and stuff like that to try to like get him out of his funk and everything. There's just like this weird doom and gloom hanging around him. And whenever that catcher steps into the situation, that doom and gloom that you feel, that almost like Night of the Living Dead, like dark and dingy zombie world, just gets like blown right out the door. Like, the other guy just seems to always have it totally in control. Like, yeah, it's zombie apocalypse, but you just kind of like kill them and move on, get what you need, and
Jeremy liked this world.
What's that?
I felt like
the Ben character,
Ben liked this world.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially again, no spoilers, but the scene scene towards the end with the guy trying to swipe that car and stuff, that was something altogether different. And like, you know, there was no hesitation there either. Like, that was the world that they lived in, and he was very, very comfortable with that.
Yeah.
You know, so even though it was zombie apocalypse, it seemed like a bright, sunny world for this guy, and he was trying to get like a buddy on board.
Well, so I think it made sense. There was a routine.
Mm-hmm.
There was a habit. There was a pattern.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
Something that you got up at a certain time. That's like the sports kind of metaphor.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely.
Kind of thing going on.
Yeah, and when he said like, "Hey, you're on the board," now that now when he took care of when the Mickey character took care of the zombie, he was like, "Oh, nice, you're on the scoreboard now."
Yeah.
So I don't know, but again, one thing that a road movie is famous for is like, pensive soundtracks over, long travel scenes. You know what I mean? Like, just like they're in the forest sitting, it cuts to them in the car. You see foliage passing, you see trees and grass passing and everything. And I thought those scenes were really, really nicely done for this type of movie. Usually I could just take or leave those type of scenes. But maybe being a New Englander, I swear I could like smell some of those scenes, like I just was in some of those scenes, having been out in woods just like that.
Hey, speaking of that, did you notice the house that was built like the weird house that was behind the house that you grew up in. That's a house a lot. That was in between your house and Leicester High School. It was just set off in the woods. It was like a little triangular house.
I don't remember it. Was
in
it a house
in the movie or in real life?
No, in real life.
It's the house that that your baby sister thought kept having dreams that they cut off your dog's leg and replaced it with wooden legs.
Oh yeah, I remember those dreams. Definitely disconcerting. Definitely. Yeah, I mean,
she was 5.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this was a really pretty movie. The cinematography and the photographic decisions made were super sensitive, I thought, like really, really artistic, and they didn't annoy me. Like these sort of like deeply like thoughtful, slow movies can really just bug the shit out of me sometimes, to the point where I'll actually just fast forward the transition scenes. And those scenes were some of my favorite scenes. Like the scene with the, cricket on the car, or the scene with them sitting in the grass just kind of chatting or whatever like that. Just like the sunlight in the woods and stuff like that, like really affected me in a good way. I thought it was a really nice and different view of a zombie apocalypse, where things are just fucking quiet again.
It was really pretty.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, even in those places, there's like so much traffic noise, and just you can't get away from it.
That was awesome. That's one thing I did. I didn't mention it because I cut some notes, but that's one thing that I did like about it. How you never see the kind of maybe inherent good that would happen after a disaster.
Yeah, sure. And then, I mean, for the most part, how many zombies were in this movie? Aside from that last scene where there were 20, there were like, 10?
They could have reused actors for scenes. I mean, the nice-titted zombie could have been in that group for all we know.
That's true. But, I mean, at the end of the day, so there's two things, right? At the end of the day, a zombie movie usually stands on the zombie effects, right? And kind of like how many zombies are there. If it's slow-moving zombies, it's like, how many are there? Like, is it enough to inspire fear, because of the sheer quantities? And this movie didn't really have either of those things. The zombie effects were very, very minimal. Super minimal. Yeah. Almost at some points to the point where you just wondered why they thought it even looked like a zombie. You know what I mean? Because it just didn't. It just looked like a person. But in actual reality, that's probably what they look like for the most part. Nobody was really bit up, and that kind of bugged me. But yeah, that's kind of my deal on it.
All right. I'm just you guys have covered so much, and I feel like I'm not even involved in this review because I've been trying to get this to work. And
maybe my favorite review ever.
To no avail, and that's why?
No, I wasn't implying that.
Let me just drop some facts here. So, does anyone want to guess how much this movie cost to make, if you haven't already looked it up?
It could either be nothing or definitely under 100,000.
I saw it at one point.
It might even be less than 100,000.
It probably is. I mean, who did they pay? They had a handful of actors.
Yeah.
All the scenes and stuff like that were in the middle of nowhere, so they didn't have to hire out buildings or places like that.
So
$1,200.
I'll say 35,000.
At the risk of letting this go on too long, I'll just tell you guys right now, it's $12,000.
Wow.
I was
just say 5.
That was my learning disability getting in the way there. I saw the right number.
Yeah. And as you remember, Manborg cost $1,000, so this is 12 times more than Manborg. But $12,000 for a movie is like nothing.
Yeah.
No.
So I actually don't know. I assume this is filmed in DV. That's my assumption based on what I know. But
definitely not film.
Yeah, film alone would have brought this up to 100,000.
It just didn't have the film look either.
Yeah. So, and what else was I going to say about this? And it's been reviewed pretty favorably by critics, which is, I guess, is not that surprising. But because it's a different take. I don't know. I guess because you would call it a horror movie, but it's not your typical.
No.
Your typical thing that we've been reviewing as far as horror movie goes.
What's the rating on it? Was it R? Not rated?
Double check.
I'm thinking not rated. Didn't have theatrical, did it?
It doesn't say, so I assume it's not rated.
Probably, yeah.
So, let's see. I thought there's some other facts I was going to call out here, but I don't. Yeah, and someone else called out that it was filmed in Connecticut, and that this was actually Jeremy Gardner's first film, That's the other thing I was going to bring up. Which
As a director.
Yep, as a director, which I think is pretty fucking impressive because it looks beautiful.
Yep.
And
It's very well directed. And you know what else is amazing in this movie? Really good? The fucking edits.
Yeah,
Top-notch
yeah.
edits.
Yeah.
And I will also say, just to help push them and promote them, just in case I don't want to forget to do this, if you go to thebatterymovie.com, you can actually buy the film for $5. You can instantly stream it and get an HD download if you want.
That's pretty cool.
That's a cool,
and
cool image.
Yeah, and it directly supports the filmmakers. So
Yep.
That's
Very
cool.
good.
Yeah.
I wish I had known that. I just rented it for $5 yesterday.
I got a real hard on about that because I love how the delivery method of media is really more than ever in the hands of the artist.
Yeah, it can be great, definitely. Or it can be shit, like Spotify and crap like that.
yeah, absolutely. So pretty much you guys covered a lot of what I was going to say, but I loved, like Tani said, I loved a lot of the sort of slow, mundane moments where they're brushing their teeth. Like I couldn't tell if they had found toothbrushes or if those are the ones that they had, but it seemed like they were like excited to brush their teeth, like all these these little things that we take for granted, and in a zombie apocalypse that may not be something you can do.
Right.
You agree that scene was too long, though?
No, I didn't think so. I didn't think that one was, no. I will agree some of the scenes were a little overstayed their welcome, a little bit too much, and I think everything led up to. This movie basically led up to that ending scene in the car. And that's what Tiny said. It was a make or break because I think it was probably pretty captivating for most people, whether you liked it or not. Like, there were some captivating scenes, and that was like sort of like, okay. And it's I mean, beside the obvious, it's a very claustrophobic scene, just in a car, and I don't even know how they filmed it. I'd be interested to see a making of or something to see how they actually, because they got all these different angles, and obviously they probably had a small camera, but still, it's pretty damn impressive. The other thing I noticed was that the zombies were very docile. These might be the most docile zombies I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they were barely animated.
And they're barely, moving at all, which, obviously worked well for this.
Yeah.
And, I'm a fan of the slower moving zombies myself, so I thought that worked well. I wish they would have been a tiny bit more aggressive, I guess, but then that last scene probably wouldn't have played out the way it did.
Sure.
One thing that kind of bugs me about a lot of the zombie apocalypse movies, Walking Dead does a pretty good job of it, but, like, if you're getting attacked by a zombie and you get bit, like, you're probably going to, like, die, right? Like, if they're on you, like, if they're close enough to you to bite you, they're probably going to get you. And if they get you, they freaking eat you. Like, they don't bite you and then, like, oh, you're bit, time to go. Right. And all of these zombies were perfectly intact. And that's kind of the case with a lot of zombie apocalypse movies. It's just like, these things are way too intact for zombies to have gotten to them in the first place. So.
That could have been just on budgetary reasons and not through artistic visionary.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with it.
Sure.
There were very few and very slim, very few zombie effects, and they were just like very slim where there were any. So I didn't have a big problem with it, though. I guess it's just a decision to make it slim.
Like, there was this one character, I won't say who. There was this one character. He got bit, and he said he got bit.
Yeah.
But you don't see it.
Right.
You don't see it, or you barely see it.
Barely see it.
Brian, I'm going to say his name wrong because I always do. But Brian Paulin should rent his awesome zombies out to other low-budget pictures because that guy's where it's at for awesome-looking Fulci style zombies.
No doubt.
All right, guys, we have 5 minutes, and I realize we haven't even done the verdict. So let me go ahead. Let's do real quick verdicts, and then we'll get to our interview.
Trick or treat, baby. I wonder if people would say you're a trick or a treat.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
All right, Dynamo, why don't you tell the folks?
You may think from just hearing my review that I dislike this, but like Monster Zero said, like I was never bored, and even things that kind of outstayed their welcome, like weren't enough to make this anything other than a treat.
Cool. MZ?
Yeah, I had to listen to what other people thought of the film and help somehow gauge my own ideas as to what I thought of the film, because I was really on the fence. Great tranquility in this film. Very laid back. If you want to try something different, as far as zombie films go, you really can't do much worse, much better rather than this. It's really actually a very well made film. I give this a very nice treat.
Rave Chattel?
When a flick like Manborg is made for $1,000, and then, not to harp on it, a scene in American Hustle costs $400,000 and is not used, the fact that this flick was made for $12,000 shows that they fucking tried. And you get the gimmick, you get the world. You can show a lot without showing enough. Treat.
Tiny.
I thought this movie was masterfully executed for a for a directorial debut. I'm awestruck at how beautiful it is and how great all the pieces that contribute to a good movie are in this movie. It's kind of reminiscent of Easy Rider plus zombies minus motorcycles. You know what I mean? It has that same old school travel vibe, like really trippy, like scenes, like just like really puts you in nature. You know what I mean?
Man from La Mancha?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. This movie was a treat for me. I really enjoyed it. I thought it went straight for the jugular.
You're going to have to qualify from now on now. I will also agree, and it sounds like it'll be unanimous. This film was a treat. I really enjoyed it. It definitely was a different take on things, and it was more of a human story than it was about zombies. You know, you'll describe it as a zombie film, but that's just sort of like a qualifier. It really doesn't say much about the actual film. It's about these two characters, and I think it was very, very cool, and it's another one that it's a film I'd like to see again very soon, just to sort of soak it all in, you know. But it's beautifully shot. The score is very fitting. I may not have loved all the songs on it, but it was very fitting, and it fit the tone of the film. And yeah, I definitely recommend checking this out. And it sounds like we all agree. So go to thebatterymovie.com and give them $5. You know, if you're interested even in the slightest, go ahead and give them $5 and check this movie out, because I think you'll dig it.
I'll do it right now.
Yeah, do it. All right, and so unfortunately, sorry guys, we're not going to be able to. Oh, before we get to that, I have one. We have to talk about the film from next week, real quick. I don't have the films for you guys. I'll have to rectify that. But we're going to review the film Contracted. This has shown up on a few best of lists from 2013, and it sort of carries a little bit the zombie theme we have going. It looks like a pretty different flick, so we'll check that out.
Wolfie is trying to make me quit.
Maybe.
Like he's going through every movie that I saw that I don't want to see.
Okay.
You saw Contracted?
No, like every list that I read that I don't care about that.
You didn't care about The Battery?
When I saw it originally, I didn't. Like when I heard about it.
Well,
so I changed your mind.
There you go, and you liked it.
Yeah. But I'll never watch it
in your
again.
face.
So in your face, yeah. Exactly.
How always do FF?
No, Dynamite didn't want to
That movie
watch it.
sucks.
Have you seen it?
Multiple times. I own it.
It sucks. Have you sseen it multiple times?
I own it.
It sucks.
No,
but
I
own
actually
it.
saw it screened somewhere. I can't remember where.
Yeah.
I got a bootleg of it before I had seen it screened.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I was
it.
on VHS.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, well, it is now 10 o'clock, so we're going to cut to a commercial. But when we come back, we're going to have our interview with Mike Allred. And once again, I apologize, guys. It's not our fault, but we're not going to be able to stream this. So
Sucks.
Bag of dicks.
yeah, really, this is really disappointing. that
Double
we
D
can't
was
do
ready?
this. Yeah, everyone was ready, man.
Yep. Did
Everyone.
you,
We had tons of people. So
Did you try one last time?
I've been trying every 2 minutes, literally.
Cox.
So, all right, you know what? Let's not let that bring us down. We have an interview with one of our heroes. So let's cut to a break. Everyone center their chi.
Woosah.
Woosha. And then we will be back in just 2 minutes with our interview with Mike Allred.
All right, man, we really got to record a promo for this thing.
Shouldn't we write a script for this?
Nah, fuck it, man. We'll do it live. Hey, folks, this is El Goro.
And this is the Cancer Man.
And we are the hosts of Talk Without Rhythm.
The only podcast that will not attract the worm.
That really doesn't explain what we do.
Well, we watch 2 movies a week, we review them, we bullshit, and sometimes we say something funny.
Yeah, but most of the time we just piss people off.
Well, the American film viewing public can't handle most of what we have to say.
But if you think you can find us on iTunes. If you do a search for Talk Without Rhythm, you could also find us on our website, TWORpodcast.blogspot.com, baby. Deuces.
Hello, it's me, Jason Voorhees.
Hi, Jason.
Is 2 million movies streaming not enough?
I'm sick of over the top.
Are your wrists and hands tired from flogging your own dead member? Over teenagers being fresh down by the lake? Have you run out of people dumb enough to wander into your territories?
What?
Are you just out of cool weapons to use?
Weapons?
Well, the Deadites have something for you to do.
Oh, no, not
Go
that.
to our YouTube channel, The Deadites TV. Search us on YouTube. You'll see the CryptoCast, music videos, and all sorts of other good business. The Deadites TV. It's on YouTube. Subscribe.
How much?
Right now, we're slashing the price for subscriptions.
Oh, yeah?
It's absolutely free.
Holy shit, I love fruit.
So go. Deadites.
Hello, dumb.
Videos.
I like videos.
That equals sexy ladies, music, monsters, and dancing. The
I do
Deadites
like
TV on YouTube. Subscribe. Subscribe. Subscribe.
That's right, boys and girls. If you don't believe old Jason, listen to what your friend Old Dynamo says and check out The Deadites TV, all one word, on YouTube. That's The Deadites TV on YouTube.
We are back from break, and we're about to talk to Mike Allred. So,
And Google still sucks.
yep, and Google still sucks. So let's not let that ruin this, though, because this is a fucking treat, the treat of all treats right here for us. So let me go ahead and give the man a call, and we will speak with him very shortly.
Hello.
Hello, Mike. This is Johnny from Trick or Treat Radio. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing excellent. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us. This is a real treat for us because we're big fans of your work, and you know, we've been really excited to chat with you. So first of all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for thinking I have anything at all interesting to say.
We have a few people here in studio with us, and what I'll do is when they ask a question, I'll have them introduce themselves because you know, I don't expect you to remember everyone's name and all that stuff. So, but first of all, I want to say I think I told you briefly in an email that we're comprised of members of the band the Deadites, and you know, obviously being a musician yourself, we draw influences from all over the place. And the funny thing is, you as an artist seem to grab a lot of inspiration from music, and us as musicians seem to grab a lot of inspiration from comic books. And I would say probably throughout the members of the band, I would say that collectively Madman has probably been one of our biggest inspirations as far as comics goes. So it just and that's why it's like such an, that's why we're so excited to talk to you because of that. And at any given time you'd see members of the band wearing Madman shirts on stage, and we even have like a line in the song. What was that from, Dynamo? What was that based on?
Look to the Sky. It just referenced what was it, Citizen Nocturne?
Yeah, the first line of the song is Citizen Nocturne calling Creatures of the Id.
Yeah.
Wow, that's going way, way back.
Yeah, you better believe it. Yeah.
So
that's one of the first comics I ever drew.
That's amazing. So I just wanted to sort of start off like that, and I'm hoping this is just more of a conversation and less of an interview, because it seems like with we're all sort of on the same page as far as like our interests go and stuff like that. So we figured we'd just start off with that, and what I think we know the story of how you got into comics and all that stuff, but I guess where did the inspiration for Madman come from? And I know that's sort of loosely based. I know you put some of yourself into that, but where would you say that the inspiration initially came from for Madman?
Well, initially there's no intention to put anything of myself in the character. That just kind of organically happened. But initially, I was doing a lot of esoteric stuff, like Citizen Nocturne, for instance. And our kids had just started to become school age. And so then, their new friends are coming over to the house, and your dad draws comic books, and then like, well, really, what does he draw? And I had all this weird, mature stuff, and it just occurred to me that I wasn't really doing anything that my kids would really get excited about. Mm-hmm. And so I started thinking about all the things that I loved when I was their age. And so I, just started digging through all my classic comics, and just kind of started making it was a Frankenstein monster is what it was, because Frank Einstein became an amalgam of different pieces of my various favorite characters. For instance, his eyes are like Silver Surfer eyes, kind of. And,
yep.
And he was originally called the Spook, which was an homage to the Spirit. Will Eisner's The Spirit, and just on and on. It so it just kind of I just kind of thought what characters I liked. I liked that, say, Batman and Daredevil are largely almost relatable in their ordinariness.
Sure.
Not that we all have radar sense like Daredevil, but especially Bruce Wayne, who took his inheritance and used it to enhance himself, mentally and physically. And so with Frank Einstein, I wanted him to be just a little faster and a little stronger than the average human, and then have his, mental skills and training be a part of those aspects of his character. So it really was just kind of like, what would be a really fun comic book character?
Definitely.
And he also kind of started out as a skeletal kind of thing, and they became more and more of this just kind of colorful adventure hero.
So I know a lot of people. This is Tiny Wight, Mike. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I think a lot of people, look at the Madman character, and this is the first. I have to say, this is the first time we've done this show for how long now? A year and a half?
A little over a year and a half, yeah.
We've had some, best-selling authors on and everything. This is the first time on this show that I've actually ever had like butterflies to talk to somebody. It's really amazing to have you on the show. Like there was we're not much younger than you are, if we're younger than you at all. And
And with that said, he's going to ask to marry you.
Yep. I know you're taken, but yeah, exactly. No, it's really a huge honor to have you on the show.
I thank you. I appreciate that.
So rewind to when you were first developing the Madman character for a second, and like, you know, you're putting pen to paper, you're putting pencils to paper, and you have in your mind that you want your kids to be able to have access to it, and probably you're drawing from stuff like Tintin and just like some adventure stories from back in the day, some things that were less, you know, a lot of fun and maybe had some, you know, some fights and stuff like that, but no blood and gore or anything like that. You rewind to the Mike Allred that was drawing that book, and just imagine for a minute. I mean, you're like years later, he's hanging with Superman, like in like a public. That's just amazing, right? I mean, like I think.
Oh, man.
I mean, any artist, like you know, as musicians, whatever, you know, you don't know where your path is going to go. You just do your darn best, you know. So, I mean, what's the conversation? Like, what happens? You go back in time. You say, hey. I'm from the future. I just want to tell you, like, you actually pen a book with Superman, and you're like down with all the big guys.
Yeah, to this day, I'm still I get thrilled thinking about that kind of stuff. And this year Laura and I were just talking about how this past year and the year in front of us just seemed to be the most exciting yet, where just all kinds of wonderful things are happening. And in the middle of that, we had a horrible, devastating experience when our house was broken into, and all of our computers and all of our TVs were stolen. And I mean, so it's really weird to have this contrast of, you know, appreciation and when you get hit with something like that, but then so much goodness and thrilling, exciting stuff on the flip side. Now, going back to creating Frank Einstein, Madman, I just wanted to. I was just hoping it would do well enough to where, you know, the electric bill would get paid. You know.
Yeah, sure.
And this is with Madman in '92. This was 2 years of working as a comic book artist full time. January of 1990, I was a TV reporter prior, and that was exactly when I started, with Laura's support, making this attempt full time. So those first 2 years were really just scrambling and scraping and just getting just enough paying work to, you know, keep things going. And Laura worked at a jewelry store, so she was largely our breadwinner at that point. But then it's like I just, again, with Laura's help and support, just decided I'm just going to pour my heart into this, and I want this to be fun for me, and also our kids being inspiration, where I want them to get excited about what Dad's doing, and all of a sudden, just all kinds of wonderful things started happening. I met Bob Schreck and Diana Schutz, who were just leaving Kamiko to go to Dark Horse, and Diana is Matt Wagner's sister-in-law. And Matt, when we were living in Europe, when I was a TV reporter, just all these happy little accidents. My first published stuff was through slave labor, and at the time Matt was living in San Jose for some reason, and which is where slave labor is based out of. And so Matt saw this stuff before it was ever even printed, and sent me a postcard, like his Mage postcard, telling me, "Hey, this stuff looks fun, you know, exciting." Or it was just a very encouraging little note. And then all of a sudden, he ends up moving to Oregon with his family, and then so we are invited to his house, and then he's at some show and shows my stuff to Neil Gaiman, and then Neil Gaiman calls me up out of the blue and says, "It's just all of a sudden my passion project started. I started seeing that it was touching other people, which, you know, for any artist, as you know, you kind of selfishly start out to please yourself. And if any of that comes back at you, it's just it's a pinch me moment. It's like, all right, it's happening. People are digging what I'm doing, and that's what just started happening. And so Neil's asked me if I want to do Sandman, which was red hot at the time, and so things just started clicking. And then so I created Madman, and it was getting picked up by Tundra, which was Kevin Eastman's labor of love at the time. He was taking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle money and wanted to create this. I always called it the Apple Records of comic books, because the Beatles kind of formed this record label to see if they could do it right, and that's kind of what Kevin's intention was with Tundra. And so all of a sudden, he's treating me more fairly than I could have ever hoped from any publisher ever, and got a real crash course in creator rights and what I should expect, and so it was weird to where I would be talking to them and saying, I would like flip action corners in the book, and they'd be, yes, sure, of course, I would like the next series to be full color. Yes, sure, of course, and what else would you like, and what kind of paper would you like, and so like when you see the first Madman books, they have that matte finish on glossy finish.
Yeah.
Like, I'm asking, I'd like to see this, and they say, yes, of course. And so it was like just having this incredible toy box, and so it just was this amazing ride of support and enthusiasm for what I was trying to do. And then Kevin kind of got burned out on publishing and focused all his attention on heavy metal, which he then purchased, and I'm pretty sure he still owns heavy metal. And but all of a sudden I'm a free agent, and now here my buddy Bob Schreck is becoming the marketing director at Dark Horse, and says, hey, bring Madman here. And what's interesting about this little switch here, and this is huge. I can't overestimate how important Bob Schreck has been to my career, because he was he was the marketing director at Dark Horse, but he wanted to be an editor. He wanted to have a more creative input on the books themselves, and so he was working with his best pal Frank Miller and just kind of pulling all these people together, and then all these guys decide to form an imprint at Dark Horse. And I don't know if you remember, but it was an imprint called Legend.
Yeah.
And so we're talking John Byrne, Art Adams, Mike Mignola, Jeff Darrow, Dave Gibbons, Paul. I mean, it's just insane, this group of people. And so I get a call from Frank Miller asking me if I would like to be a part of Legend. And I have a feeling that Schreck said, hey, you should invite this guy. But with Schreck, as he was transitioning to being an editor and wanting to, and taking Madman in there and bringing it to Mike Richards and say, we got to publish this, he wanted to be the editor on it. So I was one of the first things he ever edited. It was me and Frank Miller initially. So as they're bringing in their next marketing director, Schreck was working as marketing director and editor for both Frank and I. We had our very own personal marketing director, who was also our editor. And so they took the initial success that Tundra had with Madman and just multiplied it by 10 and just exploded it. And so I forgot the initial question. I just got so excited about thinking about this. Oh yeah, right. And then soon after that, because of that success, then DC came calling, and they wanted Mike to do a crossover with Batman, and they asked me if I'd like to do a crossover with Superman. And what, are you kidding me? And so the king of superheroes, your prototype. And to this day, to the best of my knowledge, it's the only time a creator-owned character has done a crossover with Superman. So that was and is surreal. I don't know how that happened. and also Mike Carlin was the DC editor on that, so it was coordinated with Mike and Bob and myself, and everything that I turned in was like, yes, thumbs up, full speed ahead. There was just one little change that they asked me to make, and it was like, really, that's it? That's all I have to change? So it just an amazing experience, and then I put a lot of stake in good karma, because I have no other explanation as to how lucky I've been with the wonderful people I've met and gotten to work with, and then now just there's things happening right now that I can't talk about, but like I'm rubbing shoulders with childhood heroes and stuff. It's just amazing.
I like a question I'd like to slide in there, or two questions actually, both about the Legends era. First of all, because it's you and Frank Miller are pretty much like the Beatles and Rolling Stones of comic artists for me. Wow!
You're my new best friend.
I can't. I can quit making music now that you just said that. I also wrote some songs about your characters too. What's now? Again, we've talked about the show and being kind of our place. Just the Deadites' longevity, if not our certainly our lack of fame. But being around, we've had the opportunity in different elements to work with like some people who are definitely like our heroes and stuff like that. But we did it in the era that there's the internet, so you get to like look down and say, oh well here's this guy. Here's one of my favorite professional wrestlers of all time is emailing me or texting me right now. The phone rings, you pick it up and Frank Miller's there. What's that like? Like what's going through your head right at that moment? Do you think it's a sham?
Well, no. At that point, I had met him a few times. In fact, I was introduced to him by, again, Bob Schreck. And so I knew him. But to be asked to be elevated into this group was it's probably the single most important thing that happened to escalate my career. Because upon the launch of Legend, there's like a Legend tour. There's all these different comic book shows you go to throughout the year, and we had these appearances where we would be together. So there'd be a big long table, and people would line up to meet us, and then the magazines at the time, like Hero Illustrated and Wizard and Comic Shop News and Comic Buyer's Guide, and everybody was. There'd be these big articles, and the question always was, well, it would sort of like, wow, look at this group of guys, but who's he? And so it was this amazing, bright spotlight that I don't see happening any other way, where just by association, just that I was lumped in with these guys, brought a lot of, it was, I got to be honest, there was some pressure there too, because I didn't exactly feel worthy to all these guys had, they were legends and are. So it's really intimidating to, because I hadn't done that much, and so I the only other than Madman, everything else I'd done was, kind of cold audience kind of thing, nothing mainstream at all. Yeah. Sandman would have been the closest thing to mainstream that I'd really done at that point. I was part of the Vertigo launch when DC did the Vertigo imprint. And other than that, it was like, wow, really? And you hear all these other guys. But as they would explain, the whole idea of Legend was top-notch creator-owned work. It wasn't about what they'd done with Marvel or DC or anything. It was about what they had just created. And so when you look at Legend, almost everything that was being published was brand new.
Right.
Like Hellboy was brand new, and Sin City, it's weird to think that was just something that Frank had just started doing, Next Men with John Byrne, Big Guy and Rusty, you know, Jeff, and on and on. So it was Art Adams with Monkey Man and O'Brien. But anyway, it was, so what was, where I could relate to everybody else, and I felt like I was part of the gang, was that we all had these brand new toys and wanted to, you know, we're just having fun, you know. It's like little kids on the floor with their brand new Hot Wheel cars, and just, oh, you got that one, and I look, but and so then I fell head over heels in love with everything that Jeff Darrow was showing me with what he and Frank were doing with Big Guy and Rusty, and then being part of this, we were able to write a Madman story, a two-issue story that where Big Guy debuted, his comic book debut was in my comic book, and then Frank wrote all of the dialogue for Big Guy. So it's like playing. It just felt like it felt exactly like, you know, what, like me and my big brother Lee when we were kids. It was that exact same experience where you're sitting out on the porch, you know, with pens and color pencils and drawing it all out and just excited to draw each panel and tell your story. It was the exact same thing, but on this incredible professional level. So yeah, it and that never gets old. I'm like right now the people I meet and also people that are now my friends that are, you know, that have, you know, this crazy fame around them. It's like, on the one hand, yeah, you have that relaxing bonding where you know you're tried and true friends, but at the same time you'll look at it and go, wow, if I like walked into a grocery store right now with you,
right, sure,
people would freak out.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing, and I like this kind of fame. I like the comic book fame because your work is what really gets noticed, and you can still maintain a certain degree of anonymity, and I like that. I'm very comfortable with that. Hi, Laura.
Hello, Laura from Trick or Treat Radio.
Everybody says hi.
Real quick, without saying anything negative, and I suspect if we were talking to somebody like Mr. Byrne, we might get like a slightly different attitude answer. But on paper, Legend was, as an imprint, was very similar to how comics maybe as a whole was in the 90s, and how, you know, one of the big publishers was kind of running things like at the time. But was there a conscious effort to, in the same way that of why Vertigo ended up existing, to be, we're going to do this like a little more, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, a little smarter, a little more adult, but still be fun, like, because comics were definitely an artist medium in the 90s, and they were an artist medium without maybe a lot of artist writers, and I feel like, you know, you're pretty much, you know, talking about some of the a new you, but being able to go back and, you know, some of the best artists of all time were part of that imprint, and they're all known for being great visual storytellers, but more so known as storytellers above just, you know, artists or pencilers. Was there a conscious effort to kind of be, I guess, smarter than what was going on in mainstream comics and some of the other big money companies at the time?
I think largely, yeah. I mean, I could answer that either way. For me personally, I want my enthusiasm to be first and foremost the main element in anything I do. But I also want it to be thought-provoking, and I want it to be deep and rich. And what Madman became ultimately was a place for me to have, again, like Tintin, a kind of a simple, you know, let's go on an adventure, but also take it to, you know, existential places and philosophical places, and the complexities of relationships. And for me personally, I'd say the big influences there, and as far as the intellect of comics being taken up several notches, for me it would have started with like Mr. X and Love and Rockets, and then all the different things that Dan Klaus was doing, specifically with 8-Ball and
great stuff.
So where you're really playing with the format and storytelling techniques and really looking at the potential of the medium. And to this day, I think the comic book medium has way more potential than that yet to be explored than has been explored. And with Vertigo, there were more and more darker books that just kind of seemed like they had a different place to be in the DC, as you know, in the DC universe. And now those lines have started blurring again as Swamp Thing is being integrated into, you know, Justice League Dark and things like that. But then with Sandman, which was very intellectual. You just didn't really see what Neil was doing with Sandman, then crossing over into, you know, name your DC title. You know, you're not going to see Sandman running around with the Flash or anything.
Right.
So it was really interesting to be a part of that and see that happening and those lines being defined. Shade the Changing Man, you know, and I also encouraged people like Grant Morrison to really push in different directions too, like what he was doing with Animal Man and then later with the Invisibles and
great stuff.
But I think it gave the whole industry a little, you know, shake, a little nudge that, you know, we can really push things here. And I don't like using the word adult because of, you know, blurred connotations.
Yeah.
But there just seemed to be so many other places that comic books could go that were being limited because of what happened in the 50s and how we kind of crippled ourselves with the Comics Code Authority. And then another surreal moment, which I look back on and go, really did that happen, was working with Peter Milligan on X-Force and turning in, as written, I faithfully drew the script that Peter gave me, and the Comics Code said, we can't let this happen.
Right.
And then Axel Alonso and Joe Quesada saying, you know what, we don't need the code. And then the book being released with, hey, kids, no code, and they haven't used it ever since.
Yeah, amazing
so
timing.
to have broken having that little piece of history, you know, breaking the Comics Code, it's surreal. And you can see that it really became a hindrance more than anything that was helping anybody. You know, I'm very conscious of what my kids are exposed to and what's appropriate, what's age appropriate, and what's not. But at the same time, I was, and to some extent still, incredibly naive as to what I think is appropriate. Because I'm working, again, from a selfish angle. It's me entertaining myself first. And I grew up on things like Famous Monsters of Filmland,
sure,
where, you know, you turn every page and it's just gory pictures of monster movies from the 30s on, you know, Hammer horror movies from the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah, and kids were reading EC comics and stuff like that. I mean, that was
absolutely,
you know, that was drugstore fodder. You walked in and grabbed an EC comic, and you know, you felt dirty, and your mom didn't even know what the hell you were reading anyway. But yeah, I mean, there's a fine line. You can call it a grown-up comic, but you know, kids are still reading, you know. They're still reading EC comics. They're not necessarily still reading EC comics, unfortunately. But back in the day, like, that's what kids would grab. They would grab a Swamp Thing, and there's like a, you know, a 7-headed dragon demon thing in it or something like that. That's like dark stuff, but kids love that stuff.
I have to laugh right now because to be talking to you right now, Mike, and be next to like my best friend since I was a little kid, in the fact that he still fucking talk about that Swamp Thing an issue with the 7-headed dragon. like I remember the day he got it. I remember him talking to me about it. I remember him talking about it years later, and he's still talking about that thing. It's just a surreal moment right now.
That affected me very deeply. I was probably 10.
It was on a cruise ship.
I was probably 10 when that came out or something.
That Swamp Thing run was amazing.
There were devils involved. There was like demonic summonings and stuff. Yeah, no, there was like serious stuff for a kid, but. I loved it.
The
you know
devil
what I mean?
stuff is the scary stuff.
Exactly.
And having when you grow up reading comics where people are just casually getting thrown through walls and stuff, and the violence does you do become a little numb to it. And this is where as you get more intellectual and see exactly how powerful, subtle character things can be, and how little moments can affect something. What really hurt me, what terrified me, what scared me, what affected me, and to this day, was how Gwen Stacy was killed in Spider-Man of all things.
We were talking about that today.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, that was devastating. So, you'd never think, okay, this is sure, it's the death of a major character, but it's as opposed to an EC comic where somebody comes in holding the hair of a severed head. You look at that and you go, ugh, gross.
Right.
There's a Halloween kind of vibe to that. But to have
definitely.
a beloved character have her neck broken in the process of trying to save her.
Yeah, and a freak accident.
Devastating.
Basically. Yeah, it'd be like having a major character die in like a random car crash or something like that. But so we were just talking about this today.
And remember how much you liked us before.
Right. Remember how well the conversation was going. So I've read in a number of interviews your feelings about the Gwen Stacy character and how it affected you and what happened to your comic collecting after that, and just your worldview about comics after that. But then, how can you reconcile the feelings about that with the plot line with Joe in Madman?
In It Girl.
Because she was never killed. So
she was she was kind of disembodied, right? She was discombobulated, sort of. There was no blood and guts, right?
Yeah, and her body was destroyed, but her life force was saved. And this is where
we're in love with her, Mike. Tread lightly.
She's our Gwen Stacy.
Well, there you go, and mine too. And this is why, on the one hand, I am very sensitive. I love her. To me, she's Laura.
Yeah, to us, she's Laura too.
So there's very huge chunks of me and Frank Einstein, and very much Laura and Joe.
Yep.
And so but at the same time, I want to take people on a roller coaster ride from a story point. You read that and you can see I planted the seeds.
Right.
So it's not like, whereas any outrage that came from Gwen Stacy, and then there's all this stuff with clones and whatnot, that's kind of upsetting.
Yes.
Mine was in the thread of a storyline where you're being taken on this ride, and I wanted to do something that I've never seen done before, and so to take It Girl's abilities and have her be able to take Joe in, and then for them to put her life force back into her renewed body. For me, it was like she was never dead. So it's not like killing a character and then pulling something out of here you go. She's not really dead.
Sure.
Well, and this.
So it was part of the overall story and plot, and also to be able to take all these characters on a trip and have them and to also have this very bizarre, and one of my I like conversation. I like things that provoke thought and provoke conversation.
Yes.
And I don't like where people talk politics and love, just getting all angry and spewing their point of view at each other. I don't like that.
Yep.
What I like is for people to think about why they behave they do, why it is always the best choice to be kind before, whatever the opposite of cruelty. always choose kindness over cruelty. And at the time, I was reading a journal of my great-great-grandfather who was a polygamist, and he went to prison for it. And so it's like, wow, this is my great-great-grandfather.
Right.
And so I also wanted to kind of throw in some of these things that I was reading about and learning about of my heritage. And so I wanted the knowledge of Joe still being alive to be celebrated, and to actually have Frank marry her while she was still part of somebody else's, personage.
Yeah.
So so It Girl kind of looked a little bit like Joe at the time, and they actually get married in outer space.
Yep.
And so there's just a little hint of polygamy. Of course, he doesn't have a relationship with It Girl.
Right. Right.
So It Girl was a vessel for Joe, and for them to okay, we can be together, and here's how we're going to solve this problem. And then they, are able to grow and bring her body back. But I just wanted to do things that I had never seen before, and also tapped into these things that I found interesting, and wanted to just, at least symbolically, if nothing else, illustrate aspects of them. And so that for Madman Atomic Comics, that whole run was a way to experiment, to tap into, I had, if I thought, okay, I've never seen this before, let's try to make this work. So in that run, I did the world's longest comic book panel with issue number 9. I did an issue where almost every single panel was drawn in a different style of a different artist. There were different coloring techniques that Laura and I experimented with. You can look at Madman Atomic Comics, and almost every single issue has something, even if just subtly, something that was a way for us to push and see what we were capable of doing. And it's probably the biggest growth as an artist that I've had, and until recently, actually. I feel like I'm going through a new phase like that, starting with FF. So, but that's what it's all about, just kind of pushing and pushing. Now, I don't know who was behind the decision to kill Gwen Stacy.
That's probably a good thing. Right?
But we'd already suffered the death of her father, which, so for me it was like just tragedy upon tragedy. And that isn't why I read Spider-Man. I read Spider-Man because I had a willow tree in the backyard that I could swing on the branches and pretend I was Spider-Man.
It was a dark time, too, because that was around the time of the first non-code comic, the drug issue and stuff like that. Like, they were going through pretty dark
the drugs
places.
and... Yeah, but of course I never saw the drug issue because that kept it from getting to my local drugstore. But
right. Oh yeah.
How ironic is that? But yeah, but that's so I respect story, and I respect story choices, and if somebody kills off a character, I mean, Robert Kirkman is a cruel man. The way he just he gets you involved in a character, and then bang, they get their skull caved in. It's devastating, but at the same time I get it, and watching the show, it's like you could not possibly feel less safe unless you're Rick.
Right.
You
and I don't trust him on the show either. Like I feel like because everything could go a different way, I don't even know that he's going to come out at the end.
Yeah, so on the one hand, it can really irritate the people that support the story you're telling, but also the key to that is just knowing that nobody is safe. And that's what really makes it visceral and exciting, and where you relate it to your own life, where you survived it. My favorite horror movies are the ones where the people are taken through that horror experience and survive. The ones where, everybody's dead, I'm not a big fan of those, except maybe like Night of the Living Dead, which kind of leaves you with this, the hero gets killed at the end because they think he's a zombie.
Right.
So it's a mixed bag. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to write a story where a beloved character gets killed off, but it isn't my initial instinct. For me, I'm a huge fan of happy endings, and I want a happy ending for my life, wherever that may end up, whether it's a hospital bed or jumping out of an airplane, I don't know, but, you know, so I like anything that's life-affirming, where every day we appreciate what's around us, our loved ones, our friends, and the experiences that we're having. And that's the kind of stuff that I like getting into my work.
I think that's that sentiment is exactly what brought people to you, what brought important people to you so early on, because you can feel it right on the first page. Right. All you need to do is open the book and read 2 panels, and you're hooked. You know, I mean, there's like a goodness and there's a purity to it that never really existed in comics, I don't think. You know, even in you know, stuff like Tintin and stuff like that had some heart and had sentiment. There's not what's going on in the Madman title. There's a lot of honesty in it. There's a lot of introspection, and at its heart, I guess it's an adventure comic, right? I mean, the introspection, you know, is embedded inside of, you know, something that's gonna keep kids interested and keep people turning pages and everything. But I don't know anything that's ever been like it, and I think that's really what got in the door so quickly. Is I think, you know, being honest about, you know, the character. And you know, how old were you when you started writing Madman, if you don't mind?
Mid-20s, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a pretty introspective time. Like, nobody knows who they are mid-20s, right? You're still finding yourself. A lot of that comes across.
I'm still finding myself.
Yeah, there you go, and that's amazing. And again, you know, not to blow too much sunshine up your, you know, private areas, but I think that's what still makes you very relevant and very exciting for people, is that you can sense your excitement about being involved in what you're involved with, and just really appreciating what's going on in your life. And even through the dark times, like, it was very disheartening to hear about that break-in and everything, but even through the dark times, like, there's something special about you. That's all, and you can feel it in your titles. You really can.
This is where he's going to add the marriage proposal. As an aside, of all the things I've, you know, stolen conceptually from an artist, and all the things I've learned from you philosophically, the one thing that didn't work is when I told my girlfriend that I wasn't being unfaithful. I thought your spirit was just in a blonde girl now.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that went poorly.
Mm-hmm. We could probably talk about comics for hours, but I do want to delve a little bit here into music, because it's especially relevant, you know, because most of us are in a band, and you know, just want to sort of jump around here. So if you guys have comic book questions, again, we can continue to ask them. But I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about your music, Mike. And obviously, we've read interviews that I think you said that a time that was very influential for you as you know, as a youngster, was the years 1965 to 1975, and the music sort of that came out of that era. And it's kind of clear. You can see, like, with some of your work, especially in Madman, but just, I guess, talk about the influence that music has had on your art.
Sure. I mean, it's all integrated. Movies, music, and the comics, it's all interchangeable for me. It really is. It's just the comics is where I put most of my focus, but it's almost all from the same box of ingredients. Like, for instance, David Bowie influences my comic books every bit as much as say Jack Kirby does. Mm-hmm. You know, it's true. There's kind of a spirit. There's stuff I listen to while I'm reading, and but I was just to kind of it's really weird what can happen in a 10-year period, or what can't, or what doesn't happen in a 10-year period.
Sure.
And I was watching Jimmy Fallon last night. Bruce Springsteen was on, and he was talking about how he came into music at this amazing time where rock and roll had only existed for only about 10 years. So he picked up a guitar, and so the Beatles arrived in America in 1964. And this kid from New Jersey wants to pick up a guitar and be, you know, like the Beatles, and then his other rock and roll heroes. So imagine this kid in 1965 now, a year into Beatlemania, deciding he's going to do this, but what has existed up to then? You know, you go back to Little Richard and Chuck Berry and Elvis. There's next to no history of rock and roll. It's this very new thing. And then the Beatles arrive, and you know, I get asked the Rolling Stone Beatles question all the time, and there's kind of it's almost too cool to say, oh, the Rolling Stones, but the more I think about it, the easier it is to answer that question, because no one before or since on the planet in all of human history has been as innovative as the Beatles were in such a short period of time. When you look at, you know, they really kind of worked all the bugs out in Hamburg and before they were famous. And then all of a sudden, Ringo comes in and everything clicks, the chemistry is there, and then all of a sudden they're given this, you know, magical Shangri-La of a recording studio with George Martin, where he shows them, hey, if you push this button, this happens, and they're just allowed to do whatever they want. They have access to any kind of, you know, it's just pure innovation between 1964 and 1970. Then you have the people that wanted to be the Beatles, you know, or were peers of the Beatles, like the Rolling Stones and the Who and the Kinks and Pink Floyd later, and then the glam rock movement, you know, and the Led Zeppelin bringing this heavier aspect into music, and then all the people that were influenced by that heaviness and the psychedelia of Pink Floyd and the glam of Bowie and Mark Bolan and Mott the Hoople, and you know, you just all of a sudden, because of the Beatles, you know, everybody's in there and everybody else is significant, but the Beatles are the ones who just kind of just stood over the entire planet and said, look what we're doing.
Yes.
And it just sent everybody off in all these different directions. And because of that, you look at all the stuff that was made and innovated in 1965 to 1975, and with the exception of genres like hip-hop and rap, everything else goes back to that. And even, you know, hip-hop and rap pull from that.
Sure.
And and then for me personally, of course, that's my favorite stuff, and where I'll bring in new favorite, you know, music that really gets me excited. Bands like Grizzly Bear and MGMT and Arcade Fire, and it's rare for new stuff to really come in and have that same kind of impact that, say, that, you know, getting Ziggy Stardust and listening to that for the first time, or the Roxy Music, you know, and Brian Eno's stuff, and again, all these people just going, oh, we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this, and we can write about this, and our songs can tell stories about this and about that. Lou Reed and the, you know, Velvet Underground, you know, just like everybody kind of wanted to. They would look at the Beatles and this mania and this excitement and this enthusiasm that was swelled around them, but there were the people that were going to be exactly like the Beatles, and they didn't last. But then the people who took not the example and specifically copying them, but being inspired by the freedom that they had to do what was inside themselves. That's how something like Lou Reed could exist, and the Velvet Underground could exist, and David Bowie could exist, because they thought, well, I want to do this. I'm going to see what this is like. And so that's what that 10-year period is, where it's just, you just look at all the greatest albums of all time. Most of them are going to be from that 10-year period. Sure. And now you look at, okay, it's 2014. Look at all the stuff that came out since 2004. A lot of great music was made, but was it earth-shaking? Was it groundbreaking? Was it historical? You know, very, very few examples. You know.
What about Miley Cyrus?
Jeez.
Robin Thicke.
Oh, oh man, you proved me wrong.
It's not since the Beatles.
Yeah. Paul has that movie.
But you know, I give her credit. When she seems to really know what she's doing, and on the one hand, you know, if you listen to that Bangers album, there's a lot of good stuff on there, and she had the courage, if you want to call it that, to just say, okay, everybody, I want you to look at me so that you'll listen to this stuff.
Yeah.
So I give, seriously, I give her a lot of credit, but
there are some people.
I still stand by my point.
Definitely, there are some people whose talent is to know how to be famous. I think that's her superpower.
Yeah, and whoever's writing those songs, at least if it's, I don't know how much she has to do with it. Like
probably zero.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe. I can't speak on it because I don't know. But I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that there's something there. It's not Paris Hilton, like it's not just a.
Well, she doesn't have a sex video yet, right?
No, she doesn't.
There's definitely talent. And give a little truth here. My writing partner who I wrote the Madman screenplay with is friends with somebody that worked on Hannah Montana, so they got us. I was able to take my little girl to the Hannah Montana show. So I'm probably a little more of a champion of Miley Cyrus than I would be otherwise.
Yeah, right.
But seeing her on Saturday Night Live this year, she can sing. She does have some talent.
Yeah, she's fine. She's just sometimes sometimes when you see somebody exercising that superpower of being famous, it's just you feel like someone's kind of throwing up all over you, and it's just a little much. Sometimes.
We're old.
We're old
musicians
I
too.
completely agree with that. Yeah. There's a classiness about having the it's weird to. This is more I've talked about contemporary stuff than I think I ever have, but like Beyonce, for instance. So I'm not. What she did recently is staggering, where she released her album without any fanfare at all, and it blew up. It just that's classy. So there's hey, look at me, which is really what rock and roll is all about when you come down to it.
Yeah, sure.
And then there's like I believe that I have done something so good that people are going to come running to it, and that's pretty exciting and ballsy in and of itself.
Yeah.
So, but it's all pop culture is just fascinating because you can take a side on anything, and then completely see the other side of it, and just because pop culture is just like this bubbling electric crackling thing, and sometimes there's just a lot of junk that just gets thrown at us, and it's like you just want it to go away.
Yep.
And sometimes something really thrilling happens and comes at you, like something like Breaking Bad, for instance. I mean, that I cannot believe how amazingly well written, produced, and acted that thing was consistently from beginning to end. I mean, that's a miracle of pop culture, where it slow little build up, and then to go out blazing with it. That's a miracle. I mean, there are very few examples of anything that maintain that kind of quality and increased enthusiasm for it. And I love seeing stuff like that happen. That would be a great example of what I love most about pop culture, when something that's so good cannot be ignored.
Yes, absolutely.
Raven Shadow, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah. Hey, Mike. This is Raven Shadow. I want to say one thing. I think it's awesome that your wife is your partner in crime on all your creative works, because my wife.
Everything.
Yeah, my wife and I tried to make an entertainment center over the weekend and almost got divorced. So the fact that you guys can work together is rad. I do want to take it back to X-Force, but before that, I want to say I also do part-time in a comic shop outside of Boston, and it's pretty successful. But it's funny that in a job in a store of your aging fanboys, everyone has an opinion. Everyone thinks whatever you're reading is lame, and they know what's better. One of the few names that transcends all the arrogant fanboys is your name. And regardless of
Wow.
what you're into, you know, the name Mike Allred definitely is up there with your McNolars, your Ennis, your, you know, all the legends, so to speak. And that's not you know, blowing smoke. That's from the racks, firsthand.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. With that said, to go back to X-Force, I think what you did there was pretty outrageous because at the time, I mean, X-Force, and even to this day, still has the legend of Rob Liefeld, even Greg Capullo, who came up and did some great stuff there, but you had your shoulder pads, your ponytails, your big guns. And when you came on, it kind of flipped the script there.
That's what I have on now, by the way. What? Shoulder pads, ponytail, and a big gun.
Yes.
Oh.
So even that like, was it the first page that had the implied, you know, three-way? I mean, it was an outrageous book, and I liked how it played on Fame. How much of that did you guys have creative control of? Because that was a pre-Max World, or right around the start of the Marvel Max World?
We had absolute complete, and everything Peter and I wanted to do. In fact, Axel Alonso was very much a participant, in fact, very much a co-creator in what we were doing, because the three of us pretty much talked about everything we wanted to do. And then Joe Quesada was just 100% behind us. And there was one storyline which we got pulled back on a little bit, but I completely understand why. But yeah, we were able to just it was free flow. It really was, and it was thrilling and challenging. I mean, just right out of the box, I had to design characters that I knew were going to be killed off in the first issue.
Right.
And the challenge was, I couldn't just, oh, well, we're going to kill these, so I'm going to hold these ones back here. Mm-hmm. But the challenge was to, like, take some of my favorite characters and know that they were going to be, like, zeitgeist. I thought he was super interesting and cool, and he was a big hero. And that's where it's like you get this impact. And the challenge was not to be, you know, exploitive, but to really give you the sense of the horror of dying in some horrible battle. Mm-hmm. And you know, I'm kind of like a hippie. You know, I'm all about peace and love and anti-war, and so it's ironic that I would draw such graphic stuff at times, but it's not about, hey, I want to freak people out and I want to, you know, I'm all about the gore. No, I wanted it to be felt. And so when we were first told that the code wasn't going to approve it, they suggested putting all of the horror, the violence in silhouette. So just black everything out. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, okay, you know, this is the playground I'm playing in. I got to play by the rules, and you know, I went in completely. I'm not going to have some weird, you know, diva attitude. And also because I have my own outlet. If there's something I want to do and I'm not allowed to do it here, I can do it in my own world. I can publish it myself or find publishers that will publish that. So I completely understood that, and it was really this incredible experience to have my editor and publisher go to bat for us and just say, we love it the way it is, and we don't need anybody telling us that we can't do it this way. Yeah. So to have that just, to the day I die, I'm gonna love those guys infinitely, and it was a phenomenal experience. And then to this day, I meet people who just tell me how affected they were about that, and our intentions were fulfilled. So it's very gratifying.
It was completely outrageous, and I gotta say, like, it definitely came out of nowhere. And as much as I enjoyed X-Force and later X-Statix, I wasn't, and no offense, I wasn't a fan of Doop. until that is.
Them's fighting words, right?
Wolverine and the X-Men number 17.
Oh, yeah.
And that I'm sold. That really made me chuckle. It was completely outrageous. How much of that was you? How much of that was Jason Aaron? I mean, that was a pretty wild issue. That Doop does some things that come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I love this subversive aspect of Doop, where like we find out, like when Wolverine shows up in X-Force, we find out that he and Doop go way back and have this relationship, and then in Wolverine and the X-Men 17, where even there again, Doop is just behaving in this subversive way. People are taking him for granted. He's just this floating potato that doesn't get the respect he deserves, and we find out that Wolverine is the only one that knows everything that he's doing. He's the ultimate hero in the group, and doesn't require a pat on the back or anything. And I think that's very cool. That script was all Jason. I had next to no input on that story-wise.
Really?
But I think we established Doop pretty clearly in X-Force and X-Statix, and then what Peter wrote with Wolverine Doop that Darwin Cook drew. I think Doop's pretty locked down. So I'd like to say that there's a lot of me in it, as far as what I created and what Peter and I established. But as far as that issue, that you got to give Jason all the credit for the story.
It was amazing. It was amazing. So I take it all back.
One thing I'd like to ask, and it's kind of breaking one of my own personal rules of trying to get the dirt and stuff like that, or not even the dirt. I guess is the wrong thing to put it, especially in the context that we were talking about things. I think Mike Allred, Matt Fraction was probably the biggest no-duh collaboration in the history of comics that I've ever come across. As being a fan of him and being a fan of yours, I felt like that was going to work real well. And then on a Fantastic Four title, it was even more obvious and even more amazing. It seems like if I'm not mistaken, FF is wrapping up now, right?
Oh yeah, the grand finale comes out in 2 weeks from today, I think.
Yeah.
If not next week, the week after that.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four 16, which came out today, has an epilogue that is shared with FF. Although some of the pages I did with Joe Quinones that are seen in Fantastic Four aren't in FF, and some of the ones that are in FF. In other words, both issues have some exclusive pages that Joe Quinones and I did together. Cool. But Fraction and I go way back. In fact, I'm so grateful that I had the instinct to be kind to him when he was coming up, because he tells this story about when he came to a show to have me sign some books, and he says that was really nice to him.
That's awesome.
So I'm glad about that. But he's also an Oregonian, and we're every year. Randy Boney's sculpture, he and his wife Rocky have this. He'll have a big Halloween and Christmas parties and stuff, and used to hire a karaoke guy, and so that's when Fraction really and I bonded, because we both like to sing and stuff. And Fraction has got an amazing voice, by the way. He can sing in very different styles. He can sing like Prince, and then he can sing like the Pogues, and then he can sing it's on and on, and it's really impressive. And when we had a big FF signing party, we had a big karaoke event too. So we were signing books while we were doing karaoke.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. So now Randy and everybody has their own equipment and stuff. Our house actually has a stage in it with all this intricate lighting system and stuff, and so our band can play here, or we can just turn on the karaoke. It's a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
But working with Matt was pure joy, and what would have been devastating ended up being one of these other wonderful happy things that's happened this year. When Braxton got pulled off, he just had so many things going on. My brother, who I wouldn't even know what a comic book is if it wasn't for my brother, probably. He was always there with the best stuff growing up, and so I owe him huge credit.
Is that
because of him.
Is that the same brother that shook you off the table and put you in the hospital?
That's exactly. That's him.
The same one. Okay, just checking. Okay.
Yeah, that's one of my earliest memories is waking up in the hospital with the bed covered with comic books.
That's pretty good. So, one of my earliest ones is falling out of a tree. My brother saying, "I'll catch you, don't worry," and then waking up in the hospital, broken collarbone, but no comics for me. So you win on the brothers, I guess. That's good.
Yeah, and now Lee and I we did some stuff in DC Solo together. He like Batman at Go-Go and Teen Titans versus Doom Patrol.
I saw that.
And now we're doing a Batman. I've been doing all of the Batman 66 covers, and now I'm doing a Batman 66 story for a whole issue. We're taking our time on it, so it'll be later this year most likely. But are you familiar with the Batman TV show?
Oh, absolutely. Put it this way, in the reruns, that's how my mom would get me up for school in the morning.
There you go.
I wouldn't get up, but she would say, "We're going to guess who the villain is." And that prompted me to get out and get the bus.
Yeah.
I was in high school. But no.
Imagine the opening credits, those cool credits, right? Our story integrates that entire sequence. So,
wow, good.
So, since I was a little kid, I've always wanted that comic book that doesn't exist, that those opening credits are based on, and that's what our story is.
That's awesome. He did all the scripting for Batman Go-Go. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that was
Batman at Go-Go.
That was really well written. I mean, he's no joke.
Oh, he is literally a genius. I mean, I can say that without exaggeration. Unfortunately for him, he was the guy that the teacher would say, the rest of you should be more like Lee. He just pelted and stuff. But no, he's brilliant, and he's a brilliant writer. He mostly writes novels. A lot of stuff he writes is like historical science fiction.
Cool.
And he has his own publishing company and Rook House Books. So when it was like, okay, who are we going to bring in? For a split second, I thought, well, I guess I'll write it. I'll finish our story because Matt had pretty clear notes on. Then this will happen. Then this will happen. This will happen. There was all this stuff in between that was missing, and so I was thinking, well, I guess I could take it on. I'd only ever wrote and drew on a monthly basis with the Atomics, and it was exhausting. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, why don't I see if Lee will do it? And called him up to see if he'd be interested, and he was. And I brought it to Tom at Marvel, and he was like, "Sure, why not?" And because he'd seen what Lee had written, and then in like a day, Lee had researched every single character that was even mentioned in our story so far and in the notes, and knew stuff about, like, I'm trying to find, where did he find that out about this guy? And it was just, he's just brilliant. I can't even, and his scripts are beautifully written where he'll give you these little tastes of the history behind a character and their motivations and whatnot. And I am so proud of this book. I love everything that Matt and I did together on it, and the conclusion with what Lee brought to the table is one of the most satisfying things I've ever been a part of. I love it so much. And this last issue, number 16, which is about to come out, has got just an epic historical battle that between Ant-Man and Dr. Doom. I mean, this is Marvel history. This is like essential. This is cut in stone stuff, man. I'm so proud of it. I just excited that I was able to be a part of this, and now I'm excited about the Ant-Man movie.
Yeah.
Big Edgar Wright fan. I think Paul Rudd is really cool, and I just found out that Michael Douglas is playing Hank Pym.
Yeah.
It sounds like
So-
outrageous.
You're gonna have to come on the Trick or Treat radio board and defend my like for that casting, because I feel I'm gonna get beat up for it any day now.
What's to defend? I think it's brilliant. I can't think of. I think Paul Rudd is underrated. Almost even crummy movies he's in are better because he's in them.
Right.
And
I think it's the Michael
think
Douglas thing that has people,
Well,
people
that I don't completely understand that, because Hank Pym's older, but is he that much older?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Right.
But people are, as I'm sure you know, real precious with any of the original of anything.
Yeah.
So.
But as we also know, then you can then do the movie, start it from scratch in 3 years, and like all of a sudden Aunt May is Sally Field, and she's not the white-haired old lady anymore.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I'm not. Right. Yeah, so they are precious, but not so precious that I really lose that much.
Sure.
Where I'm gonna lose my mind over something, but Paul Rudd is, and then finding out that it's Scott Lang, my Ant-Man that I've been working with for over a year and a half.
Yeah.
That's the Ant-Man that's starring in the film. That was like, Paul Rudd is going to be Scott Lang. That's really cool. And an Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah.
That's killer.
Edgar Wright could tell me that Ant-Man is going to be in drag the whole time, and I'd be. I'm already waiting in line. I'm not even at this interview for real. One more super quick FF question. Who came up with the in the scene where they're trying to convince the young Impossible Man that his father is obviously evil? Who came up with the purple and green versus like other primary color scheme? Because that was absolutely brilliant.
That was Lee. That was all Lee. And it's the kind of thing where you go, "Whoa, you're right."
Because I feel terrible. We did our top. I did my top 13 comics last year, and I realized after I got off the air that I hadn't given Lee a lot of credit when I ranked FF, because it hadn't been a lot of issues into the year. But then I went back and looked, and I'm like, wow, my favorite moment of the whole year was in one of those.
Yeah, that was 100% Lee, and it's funny because it's the kind of thing that we've talked about before, and then to see it in the script and the way he integrated it into the storyline, and to make this almost iconic moment out of it, and also that it was like kind of like Madman Atomic Comics #3, where I was able to take these classically, iconic images of these characters and recreate them. That was a blast. But that's Lee. That almost everything in these last issues that comes out of left field and makes you go, whoa, came out of his fevered brain.
That's great. It's definitely a family effort.
Oh man! And then this last issue, he explains the different power aspects of the different characters, and which is going to explain how Scott Lang is able to do the things he does in number 16. I mean, this stuff is deep. You'll be able to reread this stuff and you could teach a class on it. It's really rich. And again, that's why I'm so very proud of this whole run. I think these 16 issues from what I started with Matt and to finishing with Lee, I think it's probably the best 16 issues of anything I've ever been a part of. It just as far as consistency and the thread. Yep. Everything comes together. Everything.
Yep. Take my since again, not to blow too much sunshine, but it's definitely the best comic in mainstream comics right now. Like it just for like I don't know, like it's another thing like you've done your whole career. It's subversive in a smart way, and not in a like an offensive way. But Lee is my new favorite brother, so if you could get off the phone and go get him. You're only here because Laura was busy anyway. So.
Well, now wait till you see Silver Surfer, though. I mean, because it's like I can't. if I didn't have Silver Surfer, when I was finishing the last issue of FF, I was doing the preview, the 10-page short story that was just released in Point One for Silver Surfer. Yeah. If I hadn't been asked to do Silver Surfer when I knew that I was, in other words, if I was finishing FF and I didn't know what I was doing next, I would just be crushed. I would be devastated, and there would be this black hole I'd be falling into. Mm-hmm. That's how wonderful the FF experience has been, and how incredibly excited I am about what we're doing with Silver Surfer, working with Dan Slott. It's like, really, why am I so lucky? I don't get why I'm getting to do this. These collaborations I've been able to do in my career are just mind-numbing. I can't believe it. I just feel so lucky.
Well, I mean, to speak kind of further on that point, where's that gigantic?
You could talk to the mic, Tony,
yeah.
when you reach for books.
The 20th anniversary monster. I mean, this speaks volumes about why you're kind of able to do what you're doing. You have a collection of just unprecedented submissions of Madman art from everybody in the. I mean, is there anybody missing from the industry? I don't think there's anybody missing. And
I didn't draw anything.
There are people that aren't that. I mean, the 25th anniversary is going to be.
Oh God! Oh my God!
I was just talking to Neil Adams, for instance. So he's not in there, but Will Eisner was gonna do one, and unfortunately, he passed away.
Right, sure.
The only person that's ever just flat out said no to me was Steve Ditko.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah, I mean, anyone who knows even a little bit about him in this day and age, that's not terribly surprising.
I'm paraphrasing, but he pretty much said. I wouldn't get anything personal out of it.
Wow, that's fantastic, really. Yep, that's fantastic.
But I don't.
Hashtag
I don't
brilliant
love him
grumpy
any
recluse.
So, Mike,
but I've had this wonderful Steve Ditko experience. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, there's some amazing stuff in it. The thing that impresses me most about all of the art in here is that nearly every single one of these. Really expresses, from the artist that they know the character and they know the stories. They're not just, drawing a picture of that iconic, symbol on his chest or anything. It's deep stories, told in a single image in most of these things. Like they really know and love the character, and everything that surrounds the character. I think they made them their own. That's what I find most flattering is that they were able to integrate it into who they are. Yep.
Whether it's Mobius or Frank Frazetta's, which he was just going to pencil it. I mean, I was just going to. And how weird is this? We were at I think it was Comic-Con, but it was Frank Miller that introduced me to Frank Frazetta.
Oh yeah.
And so again, one of these is this really my life kind of things, and then he got into it. His health wasn't that great, and he gave me a masterpiece and inked it up and everything. It's like, wow. So yeah, I love that book so much. I'm going to be buried with it.
It's amazing, definitely. I'm tempted to mine has a little ding in the binder. I'm tempted to just rip it apart and just frame everything in it. It's fantastic. It's truly it's an amazing tribute to you. It's really heartening to see everybody in the industry. Putting something together that's not just like a scribble on a piece of paper. They really put heart and soul into it. So, congratulations on releasing that too. It's an amazing piece.
Thank you. And just since we're talking about it, my favorite Dave Stevens piece that he's ever done is the one in that book. So I'm not going to argue with you. It's the one thing I feel comfortable bragging about. It really is. Because it's my character, yes, but I personally have never seen, all those people on one project before.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting. I think the amount of images that feature Joe too speaks a lot, I think, about how people understand the book, and understand, your relationship with Laura and how sort of the spirits of, two people kind of translate into this comic form, I really enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Who are you? You don't sound like this. This is not the person. This is not the person who's been terrorizing me, both business-wise and like legitimately terrorizing me for the past 30 years.
This is how I talk to intelligent people. You're certainly not used to it.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Mike, we could probably talk to you all night, and I know you have a lot on your plate. So, I figure we'd start to wrap up a little bit, and if maybe at a later date, if time allows, maybe we can just have you back on the show and have like a part 2, because we honestly could talk to you all night about comic books and whatever, and and I think that's a true testament to and how good of a person you are. While you're an amazing artist and we love your art, like just talking to you now, we can see why you've built these relationships with all these other creators, because aside from being a very talented artist, you're a great guy.
Yeah, and just even being on the show, even though you don't get anything out of it personally, is
nice
to speak back to that.
I mean, I could talk Beatles and Bowie with you for a whole show anyway. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I could write a book.
But one thing that you mentioned earlier, maybe we'll sort of end with this, but you had mentioned, and I know you've talked about it before in interviews, and one thing we've been really excited for is a Madman film. And I know Robert Rodriguez had reached out to you. You guys had talked about it, and you had mentioned something about the script a few questions ago. I was just wondering if there's any news that you can give on that right now. Is it in a sort of stasis right now? Is there anything that may happen with it?
It's the weirdest thing. Robert's optioned it from me since 1998.
Yeah, it was years ago.
Yeah, 1998. Could that be right? Mm-hmm. But the way I can date it is whenever the first Spy Kids movie came out, Madman was going to be the next movie. And because the Spy Kids movie was a surprise success, and the kids were growing, he immediately went to doing Spy Kids 2. And then our daughter actually, you'll see us in the scene with the Spy Kids at the banquet. We're sitting by Cheech.
Oh, no.
And that's kind of what kept happening. He owed mariachi movies for, I think it was to Colombia, so Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yep.
So all these little things would just kind of put it up, but he's just stayed there, faithful as can be. I love him to pieces, and we've actually originally was going to be the reason I met Robert and we became friends was through Universal Pictures, because they were going to make a Madman movie, and he was at the top of my wish list to be a director, and so we contacted him and stuff, and then he just kind of pulled me aside and said, how much on the option do they have? Let it lapse. I'll pick it up. I want it.
Yeah.
And then he's flown us down to his Candyland in Austin a few times, and he's built the ultimate paradise. I kid you not. But it's just he lives on his own Disneyland. It's incredible.
Wow.
He has everything that you could ever need to make albums, to make movies, all on. He can wear his pajamas all day and get it all done if he wants to. It's incredible.
He's a phenomenon, definitely, no question.
Yeah, and he is exactly who you want to. And Kevin Smith too is the kind of guy where they knew what kind of world they wanted to live in, and they made their own world, and they're living in it.
Yep.
And it's fun to see that happen and be a part of that. It's inspiring. It's helped me figure out what I want and what I need in my life, and I feel like I have everything I want and need. Everything is all just creative at this point, where I have this environment to create, and then it's just about creating these things, these projects or what have you. So and it's largely due to those kind of guys and the people we've talked about, all evening. And but then even with it was even Sin City, where he said, "Hey, can you hook me up with Frank Miller?" And to which I immediately said, "So does this mean you're going to do Sin City next then?" And he's like, "Well." Explained to me, well, Sin City will be like practice for a Madman movie. Everything that we learn on Sin City will just make the Madman movie that much better. I'm like, I can't tell you what to do, and he's still paying me, And so what Laura and I were like, well, you realize if Universal had made a movie back in the late '90s, even if it was a modest success, we've made more money just with these this cycling with the option than we ever would have made initially there. So I would, if a Madman movie never gets made, you will never ever hear me complain about it.
Sure.
Because it's been a red carpet treatment the entire time. And I love them to pieces, and I hope that every once in a while we take a step forward. Like George Schwang is like his right-hand man when it comes to sounding board for like story ideas and stuff. George has always been really tight with Robert. Robert slept on George's floor way back in the day when Robert was first finding his way through Hollywood and stuff, and so he introduced us, and George has become a great friend. Wow, it's weird because I was going to say a new friend, but I think I've been friends with George for about 5 or 6 years now.
Sure.
But just it's funny because you'll find these people and they're surrounded by other great people that you just love spending time with. And George and I just hit it off. At the time, we lived on the coast, like the Oregon coast, and we lived on a lake that is connected to the ocean. Like you could kayak out of the lake, so it feels like you're up in the Rockies, and then you kayak through the dunes, and you're at the ocean, and a place where nobody goes unless they hike across the dunes. So it's like the opening of the original Planet of the Apes movie. That's what it feels like when you're
Sounds amazing.
going through there. And that was our writing environment when we wrote the last draft of the script. We would spend time. We had a houseboat, and we'd spend time there writing, and that's where it was like our guest house. So George would sleep there, and so we've made great progress. And then, but there's always been these other little things that keep us from blasting into production. And now we're kind of we had a deal with Dimension, and things just didn't click, and that just expired. So I don't know. So yeah, we're very much stasis now, where I don't know where or what's going to happen with it next. And this has been the first major lull in several years as to, with a huge question mark. Do we take it to this studio? Do we keep it independent? Do we turn it into a TV series? Because now Robert is going to have his own cable channel, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So I mean, do we turn Mad? Do we go from Mad Men to Madman the series? So, and there's something appealing about that too, especially now after all the great TV shows we've talked about, and this new golden age of television we're in, where there's just all this great writing, and it's not like you go to the movie theater, watch the movie, and then it's over. Next week you get another big taste of it, and it's and so I'm thinking maybe that. And now we got iZombie is where any day now we should find out whether iZombie goes into production for a TV series or not.
Right. Yep.
So it's weird, but that stuff really is. It's the kind of thing where 10 years ago, if that stuff took off, I might have been completely pulled off in that direction.
Sure.
But I'm pretty much. I mean, comic books is definitely where I want to put 90% of my time and effort, and then film and music. As far as creatively, I say that privately or am open to it if I have the time for it. But comics is really where I can control as much as possible. And then when I do collaborate, it's just thrilling. And right now I'm in this incredible creative romance with Dan Slott. I mean, we are all about the galaxy and creating these. What I did, was it last night or the night before? I finished. I think maybe I took so long on it. Easily the most time and detail I've ever spent on a double page spread ever.
Wow, really? That's saying something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Silver Surfer. I mean,
yeah. I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of your double page spread in your solo. Your solo. What was it? Issue 7.
Oh, with all the characters?
Yeah, I mean, how the heck long did that take?
Yeah, this is like the opposite of that, and something which I'm not known for, and because it's I don't think I'm giving away too much, but it's okay. Here's an exclusive for you. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. But
okay.
It's a place called the Empiricon, and it's like the ultimate city, world, floating, living planet in outer space kind of thing. And it's pure architecture, and I just spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on it, and where buildings are just going off into all different directions, and you're seeing this place from space. So it's like, I mean, when I read Dan's script, it was like, okay, somebody just threw a gauntlet right down in front of me.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean,
to make this happen.
Part of your style is that real upfront sort of fill the frame with your subject sort of deal. You know, a lot of facial, a lot of emotion and stuff like that. That's going to be really fun to see that new take.
Well, a double pager like this isn't the kind of thing I think I'm going to be required to do on a regular basis, or else it will not be a monthly series.
Yeah, right.
But when it was all done, and to get their reaction, and to the only person I'm really worried about is Laura. Look what I just drew, and then she.
Go ahead, color it.
Oh,
awesome.
Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
I get to color this. Oh,
yes.
Thank you. But it's just a blast. It's pure joy. I'm just in this incredible happy place with Dan Slott, and the things that we talked about, the things that I've planned, and what I imagine is in front of us on this. I just hope it does well, because I would like. I think I could really enjoy doing this for a long time. I think the longest continuous run I've ever had was on X-Force and X-Statix. Madman has kind of broken into different series, but I would really like to do a lot of issues of Silver Surfer. We'll see what happens, but as long as I'm feeling like I do now, I don't want to stop. The collaborations are just the best. I love doing my own stuff. It's where I can filter everything that I want to, that's personal to me, and the stories that I want to tell, and tell them the way I want to. But the collaborations are really where I grow the most, where I stretch the most, and what I find the most gratifying. And again, as a musician, it's one thing to be out there and do a solo set. But when you're hooked in and the band is just locked and you're feeling it, and you just see the heads bobbing in the crowd, and people are just jumping down to this, just feeling that groove, that's what the collaboration, that's why I say that it's all the same. The music, working on all of these collaborative things, it feels, it's all the same kind of spirit.
Yeah.
And the collaborations are really where you just really feel that spirit. And so on a personal level, the Madman stuff, it's important to me, but it's the collaborations are the party. That's where you're really having fun and that sharing, that camaraderie. I feed off of that, and it always initiates my biggest spurts of growth, and that's what's happening now with Silver Surfer. And it's why not without FF, I wouldn't have done what I just did with this double pager, for instance, where it's like, I'm going to dive into this and see what happens, and then it all just kind of kicks in. So it's a blast. and that's what the collaborations team.
Awesome. I think that might be a good place because we're, talking about the new thing that's coming out. And do you happen to have a date, Mike? Do you know when Silver Surfer is gonna drop on the masses?
I just ordered it.
I know it's March.
Okay.
I don't know if I've seen a specific day. Let me. I'm looking.
I thought it was the last week in February.
Is it? I would hope so because I'm doing the Seattle Emerald City Con in March, and it'd be great if Silver Surfer was out by then.
I'm only going off that I made my comic order.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Whenever.
I have the March previews. It says for shipping in March.
Okay.
But it doesn't have a day. It doesn't have a day.
Okay.
I don't see a day.
Well,
but I hope it's early March.
Yeah, hope so. We're definitely looking forward to that. So you can guarantee there's at least 4 sales of Silver Surfer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now, we can just multiply that by a few thousand.
Exactly.
If it makes you feel any better, that's 4 more than we sold records.
What I'll do, Mike, is I'll send you an email. I'll send you if you're curious. I don't know how into electronic music you are, but that's our bag. That's what we do, and I'll send you a link to our album or something so you can take a listen to it at your leisure. No worries.
Great. Yeah, we got a lot more electronic stuff happening in our third album, the Gear album. So,
yeah. Oh, awesome.
Doing it.
Very cool. So let's wrap up here because we've already taken a big chunk of your time, and I know you're a very busy guy. You have a lot going on. So let's sort of wrap things up. And what I was hoping is I hope we can ask one more favor of you, and hope we could get a station ID. If you could just state your name and say something. Whatever you want, the Ginchiest podcast, Trick or Treat Radio, whatever you want to say. But if you could do something like that, we'd really appreciate it because we could, play that on future episodes as well.
Okay.
So just
for the Ginchiest, so it's for
Trick or Treat Radio.
Now, what would have been amazing if you said
I refer to it as a podcast, or
you could just say Trick or Treat Radio. It doesn't necessarily. If you wanted a descriptor, it is a podcast. So yeah, you could use that.
It would have been amazing if you just told us you wouldn't get anything personal out of it, though.
Well, for the Ginchiest listening experience, you got to check out Trick or Treat Radio.
Awesome. And actually, could you just say your name as well, please, with that, Mike?
Okay. I'm Mike Allred, and I have to tell you, for the Ginchiest listening experience, you have to check out Trick or Treat Radio.
That's amazing. Thanks, Mike.
Very much.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, I noticed you had a birthday coming up in a couple days. So from all of us here, we wish you a very happy birthday coming up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem. And we can't thank you enough. This is truly been a treat. I think we're going to just stop doing the podcast after this episode because there's no need to go on any further.
You got to see us. We're all like on the wrong side of 30 and 40, and we're passing around like Hullabaloo. You can't see it, but we got atomics, and we're all pointing like, look what Citizen Nocturne said. That's funny. So thank you, sir, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
No problem. And once again, yeah, we appreciate, once again, I know there's nothing personal out of this except for maybe plugging, your stuff, which I want you to do right now. So if you want to plug your Twitter, plug whatever you want to, go ahead. Just take this time now to plug whatever you'd like to.
Oh, no, I feel like, I really just want, I think I've plugged myself enough. I just want people to get FF and Silver Surfer and Madman and everything we talked about.
Awesome.
Other than that, I would just say if people want to follow me on Twitter, it's at AllredMD.
Yeah, and we'll post some links up to that as well, so folks can find your work and also link to the Twitter and all that stuff. So, Mike Allred, we can't thank you enough. This was truly a treat, and we've really enjoyed talking with you, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, guys.
And as we play out here, we're going to play a little bit of the Gear. since we didn't get a chance to talk much about it, but we'll play. This is Numb. And thanks, Mike Allred. We'll catch up with you soon, and best of luck with FF, Silver Surfer, and everything else that you have going on. We really appreciate it.
Great. And my favorite Gear song today is One Eternity at a Time. So you got that like that too.
All right, we'll play a clip of that as well, definitely.
All right.
All right. Thanks again, Mike Allred. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks so much.
And that's it for Trick or Treat Radio. We'll never do a show again. No.
I have a thing I say now. I want to remember.
Oh, that was...
My new outro is Remember Children, I'm Mike Allred's new best friend.
All right, well, let's cut to a break so we can compose ourselves, and then we'll wrap up the show. We're already pretty much like at show limit almost, but let's go ahead and we'll cut to break, and we'll be right back to wrap things up.
We interrupt our program with a special bulletin.
Okay, here we go. This is it. Greetings and salutations.
I'm Josh Gravel.
And I'm Scott LaFave.
Oh, good for you! We want to let you know about the Arkham Film Society.
We're a small group of cinephiles programming classic, horror, cult, and exploitation film events in the Providence, Rhode Island area.
We have such sights to show you.
We try to meet a need for unconventional programming by providing affordable film events through our monthly screening series.
Be one of us.
Find us on Facebook and join our group by searching for the Arkham Film Society at facebook.com/ArkhamScreening.
Join us.
Check out our blog at arkhamfilmsociety.blogspot.com.
And stop by our Etsy and buy stuff at etsy.com/people/ArkhamScreening.
Yes, sir. You, sir. All right already. I'm hip.
We now return control of your television set to you.
I will be Burble.
What's up, y'all? It's me, the Yeti. Telling all the ladies that they couldn't be more fine and that we should knock those boots like Frankenstein. When I want to get my nerd on, I go to Facebook and I go to the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group. That's the place where I get to talk about all the hip new horror movies, all the cool comics.
What comics?
RPGs, video games, you name it, we're talking about shit on there. And you could not be any cooler if you were the coolest kid in school. Be the first kid on your block to swing their cock over at the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for Trick or Treat Radio, ask to join, and it's like Nerd Nirvana, baby, without the shotgun blast. This is the Yeti, signing out. See you at the Trick or Treat Radio Facebook group.
Follow us on Twitter at The Deadites, TheDeadites.com, and TrickOrTreatRadio.com.
Guys, we just talked to Mike Allred.
Yeah, Mike Allred was awesome. Definitely.
Did you turn your mic off again?
I don't know. Is it on? Tiny, help me.
Talk.
Hi.
It's
No,
off.
He's done. He's done. You can't talk anymore.
I've learned that whenever before we start I say anything, I say the words fast or concise. We're heading for some sort of Michael
Check to
Raven
make sure
Shadow
it's
disaster.
still plugged in. Jesus Christ.
Was normally it's Michael Raven Shadow that fills up these things. What we have is Mike taking apart.
What the hell happened? Nothing. I didn't like. No. Like
This is.
yeah. You're relegated to the
Hey,
MZ chair.
come on, shush.
That's what you get for breaking your mic.
Jesus, man, breaking my fucking shit.
That was like my fantasy for a few months. Mike Allred was on, and Michael Ravenshadow couldn't talk.
Yeah,
right, now you're on.
It doesn't feel awesome to be like a total like geeking out like nerd, but at the same time, like it's really awesome to get one of your heroes on the line and just jaw for a little while.
I'll never get laid because of how I feel right now.
Well, you might lay yourself. We're gonna see the masturbation scene from the Battery all over again.
Yeah.
He's just gonna be staring at Madman.
I'm just gonna go up to him.
Man, seriously, like. We can't like we need you to end the show soon. I can't even talk.
Thanks.
That was amazing. So let me find these voicemails that we got.
Cool.
That was fucking cool.
And literally, we skimmed the surface. I had a million questions.
Yeah.
And we could have talked to him for 4 hours and not had it.
Oh, sure.
And not had it be boring or go over questions over again.
Anyone who I guess here is just Tiny, who hung out at the original crypt that was behind the NCW arena, knows how huge of a Beatles and Bowie fan I am. That's like all that was on my wall, and we could have done a show. I could have done a show on that. Like, outrageous.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, we still need to calm down, I think, from this. So let me go ahead and we'll play. It looks like the Weisenheimer ad went pretty well last week, right? Would you guys say?
Yep.
Yeah, that was fun.
So it looks like they sent us another one. I don't know if this is a revised one.
Wait,
or
did they send a check too this week?
I just got a new voicemail. No check.
Oh wait, no,
so.
I got something on PayPal.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Well, let me see what this says, and I'll ask you what we got from PayPal after.
What kind of man drinks Weisenheimer draft ale? He's a good man. Gets up early, puts in a full day's work, and just wants to go home, pop open a cold one and relax. Only he can't relax because it's Wednesday, which means he's got to leave his special lady friend and go record a podcast. Since he doesn't drive, he's got to wait outside in the freezing cold until someone deems him worthy enough to be given a ride. And then he's driven to a teeny tiny studio run by a guy whose sense of feng shui involves giving half the room to himself and the other half to 3 guys, a table, and a giant glass case full of action figures. So he squeezes himself into a seat, fully prepared to do the podcast all by himself like he wants to, but no, he's got to share the spotlight. And who's he got to share it with? Well, one guy's a slow-witted drunk who once got outwitted by his own top 10 list. And the other guy's a quote-unquote actor who thinks a movie just isn't a movie without the Nazis. And what does he get for being so good to a couple of losers who aren't even in his band? He gets 3 hours of fat jokes. That's right. If they aren't making fun of his waistline, they're desecrating the great name of Little Debbie. And it's not bad enough that he's having his bad habits criticized by a man so in love with cigarettes he once slapped a nicotine patch on his lighter. And it's not even so bad that one of the jokers is a close friend who wouldn't dare shoot his mouth off if he wasn't hiding out far away on his side of the crypt.
That's true.
No, what really sucks is that it never occurs to anyone that the other 2 guys talking shit are so fat they could go to a Halloween party dressed like Oprah Winfrey's thighs. So here he is, surrounded by assholes and hypocrites, and about that time, he starts wishing he did drive, so he could just drive the fuck out of there and show them all, 'cause god damn it, that show is nothing without him.
That's true.
And that's when you reach for a Weisenheimer draft ale. It doesn't care what you look like or how you got that way. With a smooth, bold taste, It just wants to make you happy. Weisenheimer. Now available at Flynn's.
What was the PayPal thing?
I got paid in pesos.
What?
I got paid in pesos, but there's not enough pesos to actually translate to a penny.
Hey guys.
Oh Jesus.
I think that might have been about me.
What? No. What are you talking about?
Oh.
I just know that Weisenheimer's is available at Flint's.
Ooh.
What are you going to get?
They're not talking about this podcast, are they? When they
No, I
that
guess
stuff?
not, but-
I think they're just talking about theoretically like if there was a podcast like that, right?
But it's available at Buffalo Wild Wings,
It does
so we
seem
should go and celebrate.
Ooh. We should go celebrate the Mike Allred interview and just eat like a fucking metric fuck ton of wings.
Ooh, off each other.
No.
Too far, too far.
That's a little too far.
Remember, children.
All right, we have one more voicemail.
Come
we'll
on.
play this and wrap things up.
If this is from a villain,
Dear
someone,
sirs.
God damn you.
No.
I hope you're enjoying your brand new mech.
What? Where?
You know, last week as I was basking in your appreciation, I started to think that maybe this would be the year I turn over a new leaf and make myself a kinder, gentler person. But then you just had to read Pantophobe's latest tweet about how awful it was to meet me. So now it's business as usual. Dear Pantophobe, get the fuck over it! First off, stop acting like it was this big ordeal, you miserable drama queen. You meeting me was like Joeytron losing his virginity. It happened last year. It took less than 30 seconds. And God willing, it'll never happen again. Second, you didn't have a bad experience with me. If you had, you'd be typing out your whiny little tweets with stumps.
Ooh.
And third, here's a little newsflash. If you don't want people to treat you like a toothless bag lady, don't walk up to them wearing a blood-stained mask that makes you look like you got slapped in the face with Rosie O'Donnell's tampon. And speaking of costumes, as I recall, you were wearing stockings that night to enhance your appearance. But if you really wanted to look sexier, you should have taken them off, rolled them up, and stuffed them in your bra.
Ooh, geez.
So, here's hoping you have learned your lesson, and the next time you think about disrespecting me, you will make like Dynamo at a salad bar and keep your mouth shut. Yours in friendship, Sir Isaac. P.S. I would appreciate it if you did refer to me as Sir Isaac from now on, and not Mr. Isaac. I'm sure you can appreciate the subtle but noticeable difference. Aurora.
Ooh.
Oh, what the fuck is that about?
And Jesus fucking Christ, Dynamo. What the fuck? You're laying wolf bait in here. It fucking smells in here.
And you guys wonder why I don't come into the studio.
Yeah, I know. That seriously, I hook us up with Mike Allred, and that's how you repay me?
Remember, children.
Fuck you. Jesus Christ. That was fucking brutal.
Sorry. Do you know how long I held that in for? I didn't do it while
Just go outside.
I couldn't go outside.
Yeah, you could have.
No, because outside is where I live. I don't want to do that.
My fucking God.
Come on, look on the bright side. It smells better than Michael Raven's shadow.
No, it doesn't.
Gag a maggot, dude. It's fucking the
Oh, hush.
the action figures are melting.
They are.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that anymore.
I can't help it.
Yes, you can.
I'll make you help it.
Yeah. What are you going to put in there, Sailor?
Jesus.
Oh, fuck.
All right. We have the trick or tweet minute.
Trick or tweet. Trick or tweet.
Sorry, this is sorry this didn't happen, but Pantophobe says I'll be watching with another Ford Loco since the chat room spots are special tonight. I'll stay in the Q&A hangout.
Ooh.
But the chat room happens to ever be free. I'd be happy to be a seat filler, and I can leave if necessary. Well, sorry, but all the seats were full because Google's a dick bag.
Was that even fixed at this point or no?
I don't even know.
Still broken.
I haven't even tried.
They really screwed us on that one.
They really did. We've fucking been promoting this so hard.
And subsequently promoting Google Plus.
Yeah,
You
bag
know?
of dicks.
Google minus.
And
Stupid but effective.
Pantaphobe thinks, she says, anytime I declare with confidence my intent to do something, the universe fucks it up. I'm sorry I said I was going to watch. She thinks it's her fault. I tweeted back and said that I think it's because Tiny didn't bring his mask, and he's in studio. And she says, gasp, maybe this is karmic revenge for me having seen him maskless once.
Oh, shoot, that's right.
Time. One time, Raven Shadow.
Ooh, one time that happened.
Yep.
One time.
Was gasping because of the fucking wolf bait that was dropped.
Oh, my God.
Shut up.
So...
It's bad. Poop stinks.
No.
It smells bad.
I made it
smells
myself.
really bad when gas comes out of people's butts.
Poopies and...
Don't do that around us.
Yeah.
Pee-pee and that's when people go pee-pee and poopy.
Can we go?
You can go.
Yeah.
We'll finish the show. You can leave.
already went.
Man alive. Jesus fucking Christ. So, we probably won't have a guest next week because, sorry everyone out there, but no one's going to live up to that.
Well, I mean, we might could have a good guest.
I might fart in my pants again.
That's like, this is the guy who yells at me like when I say my favorite guest. He's like, hey, Ray, don't say that. And now he's like, fuck you guys.
I'm not
come
saying
on after that.
No, it's a tough act to follow. You guys don't agree?
What's the right answer? I feel I agree, but I'm not sure how you phrased it.
What's the over-under?
Yeah, is agree good? Yeah. Or I don't agree.
Say treat.
Treat.
Good. Raven Shadow was so into it, he drank a boy beer tonight.
A boy beer?
Yeah, he drank a
Boys don't
something
drink
that's
beers.
not in a clear bottle.
Yeah. Little Sam Abrams.
Samuel Abrams, Boston Lager. How do you say that? Lager?
Yeah, Jushin Thunder Lager.
Lager?
Lager. Was Sam Adams the president?
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
Was he?
Some cherry tree motherfucker.
He made the beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made it.
That's how you get elected.
He still makes it.
That's how, yeah.
They keep him like fermenting in like a vat of beer.
Yeah, so
you do realize the longer you let this go, the worse he's going to make it for us, right? Like somebody that might never listen be like, wow, I don't want to listen to a special needs podcast.
So we may have some new listeners out there. I guess I didn't say anything at the beginning because we're trying to rush through the intro, but because of Mike Allred, we may have some new listeners, and like if you dig what you hear, tune in because we may not have guests like Mike Allred all the time, not people in the comic book industry, but we have filmmakers, we have authors, we have musicians. We're sort of all over the place, and
wrestlers.
Wrestlers, yeah. He fits right in because he's sort of like at the epicenter of pop culture, and that's sort of where we live. Although on the nerdier side of things, not necessarily.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, the nerdy side of pop culture, street, right?
Yeah. And then again, because of Google Plus being a bag of dicks, we might not have any new listeners.
It's true.
That we could have had.
Well, the podcast on Friday. So
there you go.
We release a podcast every Friday morning on trickortreatradio.com, on iTunes, Stitcher Radio. We talked about this already, but you may have skipped forward. So we thank all of you for tuning in, any of you who may have tuned in. And you know what? Let's go around the room and let's talk about our favorite Mike Allred comics or moments or whatever as we say goodbye to the folks. Why don't we start with you, Raven Shadow?
All right. You know what? I'm going to drop science on Superman, Madman, Hullabaloo. My favorite moment was when Madman had Clark's powers and Lois is getting involved. He goes to pick up the fly, and you see like 4 panels of Lois rocking a garter belt and some underpants. It's in there, Tiny.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit sexy. Kind of enjoyed.
Right.
There was some movement that we talked about earlier.
A BM?
No, it's
like
Dynamo's bit. I don't know what it was, but it was exciting.
All right. How about you, Tiny? I know it's going to be difficult to pick for you, but...
Well, I just, I haven't collected comics in a long, long time, as you guys well know. I usually only do trades nowadays, and it's been probably a good decade since I really collected in earnest. But for this interview, and just wanted to sort of catch up with Mike's stuff and see what he's been doing and everything. Man, I pulled in so many great things, but I got to say, this Madman 20th Anniversary Monster, highly recommend it to anybody that's a fan of his work or just wants to see everybody's take on the Madman character. It's absolutely phenomenal. Some of the pieces in there are just breathtaking, and
again, like I said to Mike during the interview, really speak volumes about the way that the comic industry and the people involved in the sort of creative processes feel about him and Laura too. Just it's amazing to see all that stuff translated into print.
Absolutely. Raven Shadow here just showed me that panel that he was talking about.
Raven Shadow's passing around a Lois Lane upskirt shot.
Oh, jeez,
like,
yeah,
like,
this is pretty serious.
Right? Like,
but he keeps it
a
so
7-year-old
classy.
with a hustler.
But he keeps it so classy at the same time.
Yeah.
It's classy yet, hey.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. I didn't realize that that's maybe the only crossover of an independent comic book character with Superman.
Mm-hmm.
What was great about that too was when that was going on, it was always like the characters still existed in the same world, which always took me out of it.
Yeah.
This actually had them being from different dimensions, and in a weird way, like Madman does kind of fit in Clark's world.
Yeah,
it could work. Like it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't read it in at least 7 years, maybe more. So I don't really recall very much about it, but that's pretty outstanding. Dynamo, do you have a favorite comic moment, whatever?
It's Ledger would call me a cop-out right now, but it is impossible for me to pull out just one thing in somebody who's been so incredibly influential on my work.
Okay.
I mean, Tolliver Jade in my Strange Misadventures of Tolliver Jade stories is always rocking the Madman T-shirt.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. It's also very difficult, but Madman, I'll just single out Madman. Actually, the Atomics I thought was pretty fucking awesome too. Like I don't know if all you guys checked that out, but
as a team mark, like a Mike Allred team was a big deal to me.
That was it was very reminiscent to me of what my limited knowledge of the Marvel.
Have one.
All right, well go ahead.
I do. I'm sorry. I forget what cover it is, but I just refound it recently while I was looking at covers today. Mike Allred drawing the Avengers, who everybody knows I'm a huge Avengers mark on the cover of that X-Force.
X-Statix.
X-Statix, sorry, issue. Like that was a big deal for me.
Cool, there it is. So I will be the cop out and just say Madman, because it's such a huge influence to the Deadites, and just that shirt. I mean, just what is it? The Mr. Excitement? Is that the yeah.
Uneducated people used to think that was a Deadite shirt.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. We should just buy them and sell them as Deadite shirts, and we'll give Mike a little rip back of those. So, that was fucking awesome. Mike Allred is the man. If you are not familiar with his work, you need to go check it out immediately. Yeah. And it sounds like the FF and the Silver Surfer might be good jumping on points because
phenomenal. His FF anyway.
Yeah, and we've raved about Madman, so. I'm sure you'll be excited to check that out. The Atomics. I'm not very familiar with iZombie, but that sounds like it's going to be turned into a TV series. So there's lots of stuff. I mean, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. The guy is such a talent, and as we found out tonight, talking to him for over 90 minutes, the guy is a genuine gentleman and such an awesome guy. Like to take time out of his busy schedule just to hang out with us chumps, Well. To other people, we're chumps. Yeah.
I don't want to do it, so I can only imagine somebody who isn't obligated.
I always, whenever we have somebody halfway respectable on, whatever industry they may be in, it always kind of amazes me that line that we walk on this show where we can just be the absolute worst human beings ever, and we can actually speak like normal human beings at the same time. Like I forgive us for that, I guess. We're just people at the end of the day.
I'm not a bad human being ever.
You're the worst.
The guy who normally sits behind me, and you're saying I'm the worst?
Yeah. He doesn't know any better. You do. That's the problem.
He's almost childlike. You're so fucking sinister.
I do not. You're just mad because I called you out that you would be going down so fast it'd be like you in prison at the
You just
Apocalypse.
whatever.
When'd you say that? Was that when I was not here?
No,
you just need to stop eating what you're eating. Yeah. And you'll be a better person.
I haven't eaten all day. I've been too nervous.
You should have had something to eat then.
It smelled like you had something to eat.
Yeah.
All right, well.
That's your worst attribute.
Your gas is your worst attribute.
Top 5. That's 1 through 5.
We go before this is 4 hours, and no radio network will ever want us.
Oh my God! Each episode, we're gonna put chilies next to an episode. This how spicy your gas was that day.
All right, I think we're gonna end on that positive note. Dynamo.
Remember, children, wherever you go, there you are.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Trick or Treat Radio this evening on episode 77, and especially, I got to learn to fade that in. And especially thank you to Mike Allred for joining us and talking to us for an hour and 40 minutes. Fucking awesome. See you folks next week.